California is renowned for its vibrant amusement parks, roller coasters, and joyous laughter echoing through the air. But behind the neon lights and thrilling rides lies a shadowy history. Some parks, now abandoned, carry chilling tales of tragic accidents, untimely deaths, and unexplained phenomena. Over the years, visitors and paranormal investigators have reported ghostly apparitions, disembodied laughter, sudden temperature drops, and an unsettling feeling of being watched. In this video, we journey through 25 of California's most haunted amusement parks that time forgot, where the echoes of the past linger and the thrill of fear replaces the thrill of rides. Rocky Point Amusement Park, located along the scenic shores of Long Beach, California, once drew crowds from across the region with its vibrant boardwalk, thrilling rides, and lively seaside atmosphere. Opening in the 1930s, the park offered families a place to escape the stresses of daily life, with its iconic carousel, Ferris wheel, roller coasters, and game stalls, providing endless entertainment. But over the decades, as the park fell into disuse and eventually closed, the laughter and music that once defined Rocky Point gave way to silence, decay, and a series of chilling accounts that have earned it a reputation as one of California's most haunted amusement parks. Visitors and paranormal enthusiasts alike report strange occurrences that suggest the energy of the past refuses to remain buried beneath the boardwalk and broken rides. Many reports center around the park's old carousel, a once bright attraction now stripped of color and rusting under the elements. Those who venture near it speak of faint, almost imperceptible screams, echoing as if children were riding the horses long after the sun has set. Some have reported hearing the rhythmic creak of the carousel's machinery, moving on its own despite the lack of electricity, accompanied by ghostly laughter that swirls eerily on the ocean breeze. Visitors often describe an overwhelming sense of unease near the carousel, a feeling as if unseen eyes are tracking their every movement, and some claim to have felt invisible hands brush against their shoulders or tug at their clothes. Photographs taken at night frequently reveal shadowy figures standing near the carousel, shapes that vanish when approached, leaving only the faintest trace of a presence in the dim glow of moonlight. The Ferris wheel, which once offered spectacular views of the Long Beach coastline, is another hotspot for paranormal activity. Guests have reported sudden drops in temperature near the towering structure, a chill that seems impossible on even the warmest evenings. Some speak of hearing the low, metallic groaning of the Ferris wheel turning, as though it is operating despite its rusted, immobile frame. Others recount seeing the faint silhouettes of figures seated in the cars, staring out over the darkened park, only to vanish when the observer moves closer. A few have even claimed to hear whispers emanating from the Ferris wheel, fragments of conversation, or names called out in tones both urgent and pleading, as though the spirits of past patrons linger to relive moments of joy and terror frozen in time. The boardwalk itself is steeped in tales of ghostly encounters. Once bustling with game stalls, food vendors, and throngs of families, it now lies weathered and abandoned. Visitors walking along the cracked planks report hearing footsteps behind them, even when no one is in sight. The sound of chains rattling from the old swing rides or the echo of distant applause is a common theme, and some have felt the sudden sensation of being pushed or brushed past as they explore the deserted pathways. Paranormal investigators have documented electronic voice phenomena, EVP here, capturing whispers, fragmented sentences, and cries that seem impossibly human, often accompanied by unexplained cold spots and fluctuations in temperature. Inside the remaining structures of Rocky Point, the evidence of lingering spirits continues. Old concession stands and storage sheds exude an oppressive energy, with visitors reporting doors opening and closing on their own and objects moving inexplicably across shelves and counters. Shadows are frequently seen darting across walls or along the floors, sometimes accompanied by faint laughter or indistinct murmuring. Investigators suggest that the repeated presence of strong emotional experiences, joy, fear, disappointment, and even tragedy may have left residual energy in the park, manifesting as both auditory and visual phenomena. Historical accounts provide context for some of the park's more chilling tales. Several accidents occurred during Rocky Point's operation, including falls from rides and drowning incidents near the shore. Employees and guests who perished within the park's confines seem to have left a lingering imprint, with some visitors reporting seeing figures reenacting past events. One account tells of a young child's apparition seen repeatedly near the carousel climbing aboard a horse before disappearing, while another recounts a shadowy figure at the Ferris wheel staring out across the water as though waiting for someone long gone. These stories, passed down and documented by local historians and ghost hunters alike, add to the park's reputation as a place where the boundary between the living and the dead feels unnervingly thin. The seaside location of Rocky Point amplifies its eerie atmosphere. The sound of waves crashing against the shore at night, combined with the creaking of old structures and the howling of the wind through the boardwalk, creates natural acoustic effects that often intensify the perception of paranormal activity. Visitors describe moments when the wind carries with it faint, disembodied whispers or the illusion of movement just out of the corner of the eye. Moonlight glinting off rusted metal and weathered wood casts shifting shadows across the park, enhancing the sensation that unseen figures are always present, silently observing intruders in their abandoned playground. For those brave enough to explore Rocky Point Amusement Park, the experiences can be both thrilling and terrifying. Some leave with stories of fleeting figures, sudden chills, and inexplicable noises, while others report a pervasive feeling of being watched, as if the park itself retains a consciousness tied to its lively past. Ghost hunters often return multiple times, drawn by the consistency of the reports and the tangible sense of residual energy that seems to permeate every corner. From the carousel and Ferris wheel to the abandoned concessions and silent boardwalk, Rocky Point Amusement Park serves as a stark reminder that even places once filled with laughter and joy can become vessels for the supernatural. The faded rides, empty pathways, and crumbling attractions hold memories of both celebration and tragedy. And for those who venture there after dark, the past is never truly gone. Whether it is the faint sound of a child's laughter, the cold draft near a Ferris wheel, or the shadowy figure on the boardwalk, the park continues to tell its story to anyone willing to listen, offering a haunting glimpse into the lives and lingering spirits of those who once walked its sunlit paths. Joyland Amusement Park, nestled in the heart of Lodi, California, was once a beloved destination for families seeking thrills, laughter, and the carefree joy of summer days. Established in the mid-20th century, the park quickly gained a reputation for its charming wooden roller coaster, brightly painted carousel, and lively bumper car arena. Children's laughter and the delighted screams of thrill seekers were once the soundtrack of the park, echoing across the fairgrounds and into the surrounding neighborhoods. Yet over time, Joyland's vibrancy faded, marred by accidents and financial struggles, until its eventual closure left behind a collection of abandoned rides, decaying attractions, and chilling tales that have made it one of California's most haunted amusement parks. Today, paranormal enthusiasts and curious visitors alike recount experiences that suggest the energy of the past remains trapped within the park, haunting its empty walkways and rusting attractions. Central to Joyland's eerie reputation is the old wooden roller coaster, a once proud structure that thrilled thousands over the decades. Unfortunately, the coaster was also the site of several accidents, some minor, some fatal, that have left a lingering mark on the park's history. Witnesses who explore the abandoned tracks report hearing the unmistakable sound of wooden wheels clattering along the rails. Even when the ride is motionless and unsafe to operate, phantom screams, both joyous and terrified, have been heard echoing through the decaying support beams, as though the spirits of riders who once thrilled to the heights and drops of the coaster refuse to move on. Some visitors report sudden, icy gusts of wind along the tracks that seem to follow their movements, as if unseen hands are guiding or warning them. Photographs taken at night frequently reveal shadowy forms sitting in the coaster cars, their faces obscured but their presence undeniably human, frozen in time as the structure itself deteriorates around them. The carousel, another iconic feature of Joyland, has become a focal point for ghostly activity. Once a brightly colored centerpiece with hand-carved horses and playful music, the carousel now stands silent, its paint faded, and its mechanics rusted. Visitors report hearing faint strains of the organ music that once accompanied the ride, drifting through the air with no visible source. Shadows are often seen moving among the carousel horses, and some claim to have glimpsed the figures of children riding the animals in a blur of motion that disappears the moment they blink. Paranormal investigators have recorded disembodied laughter near the carousel, sometimes accompanied by whispers of names or phrases in broken, indistinct tones. Some visitors recount feeling invisible hands on their shoulders, or the light brush of a ghostly presence as they move around the ride, intensifying the sensation that the spirits are still reliving their joyous days on the carousel. The bumper car arena, once alive with the sounds of bumping metal and playful shouts, has similarly become a hotspot for paranormal encounters. Guests exploring the abandoned arena report seeing lights flicker across the empty floor as if the cars are moving in a chaotic dance. Even though the electricity has long been disconnected, shadowy figures dart among the cars, disappearing behind walls and reappearing in corners, giving the unmistakable impression that the arena is alive with unseen players. Footsteps echo across the floor where no one is present, and visitors often feel as though someone is standing just behind them, watching their every movement. AVP sessions conducted by investigators have captured indistinct phrases, giggles, and even brief cries that cannot be attributed to any present source, lending credibility to the claims of lingering spirits. The boardwalk and surrounding pathways of Joyland further amplify the park's haunted reputation. Once bustling with concession stands, game booths, and families strolling between attractions, these walkways now lie cracked and overgrown, with the shadows of broken structures stretching across the desolate grounds. Visitors report hearing the distant clatter of coins, the sound of steps on wooden planks, and faint voices calling out, often when the area is completely deserted. The wind passing through the empty stalls sometimes carries what seems like faint laughter or whispers, making it difficult to distinguish natural noises from supernatural phenomena. In certain spots, cold spots appear suddenly, often in corridors, between attractions, or near the center of the park, causing shivers and the sense of being closely watched. Historical context adds depth to the park's chilling atmosphere. Accidents on the roller coaster, including several that resulted in serious injuries and deaths, are frequently cited as the origin of much of the park's unrest. Employees who worked long hours in the amusement park as heyday, and patrons who tragically lost their lives in accidents may have left behind residual energy that manifests as both auditory and visual phenomena. Shadowy figures captured in photographs, fleeting apparitions seen in peripheral vision, and a sense of unseen presences are often concentrated near the sites of these past events, particularly the coaster, carousel, and bumper car arena. Even the surrounding environment contributes to Joyland's unsettling aura. The combination of overgrown vegetation, decaying structures, and the ambient sounds of the nearby streets and wind through empty rides creates a sensory experience that is both immersive and unnerving. Moonlight, reflecting off rusted metal and broken glass, casts shifting shadows that appear to move independently of the wind, giving visitors the sensation that they are never truly alone. Every creak, gust of wind, and distant sound seems amplified, encouraging both fear and fascination for those who dare to explore the abandoned park. Despite the palpable sense of unease, Joyland continues to attract paranormal enthusiasts, historians, and thrill seekers. They come to witness firsthand the echoes of the past, from phantom laughter and footsteps to spectral figures caught in long-forgotten moments of joy and terror. Each visitor leaves with a story, a fleeting shadow, a sudden chill, or the unmistakable feeling of being observed by unseen eyes. These experiences reinforce the park's reputation as a haunted landmark, a place where time and tragedy intertwine and where the spirits of the past refuse to be forgotten. Joyland Amusement Park stands as a testament to the lingering presence of history and emotion, where every broken ride empty stall, and faded pathway tells a story. The laughter of children, the thrill of the roller coaster, and the joy that once filled the air have been replaced with whispers, shadows, and unexplained phenomena. For those brave enough to step into its abandoned grounds, Joyland offers a haunting glimpse into the lives and lingering spirits of those who once called the park a place of happiness, now frozen in an eternal cycle of spectral amusement. Marine World, Africa, USA, located in Vallejo, California, has long been a destination for families seeking a combination of thrill rides and close encounters with marine life. Established in the late 1960s, the park offered visitors everything from high-octane roller coasters to immersive animal exhibits, including dolphins, sea lions, and exotic marine species. Over the decades, the park expanded and evolved, but certain sections of the original grounds fell into disuse. These abandoned areas, now silent and overgrown, are steeped in tales of paranormal activity. Witnesses consistently report encounters with ghostly marine animals, fleeting shadows, and unexplained sounds that seem to originate from the pools and enclosures long after the park has closed for the day. For many, the experience of exploring these forgotten sections is as terrifying as it is fascinating, revealing a side of Marine World that few tourists ever see. The abandoned dolphin and sea lion pools are among the park's most frequently cited hotspots for paranormal activity. Visitors and investigators often report hearing the sound of splashing water, barking, and playful chatter of animals when the pools are completely empty. Faint reflections of swimming animals have appeared in photographs taken at night, with shapes that vanish when approached. These encounters suggest that the spirits of the marine animals once cared for and adored by visitors and trainers may linger, replaying fragments of their lives long after the last guests have departed. In addition to the pools, the abandoned animal enclosures and maintenance areas have their own eerie tales. Guests often report sudden drops in temperature, particularly near the old feeding stations and behind empty cages. Shadows flit across walls and floors, often in shapes resembling animals or trainers who once worked tirelessly within the park. EVP, electronic voice phenomena recordings made in these sections frequently capture faint whistles, clicks, and even indistinct calls that sound remarkably like those used in animal training. Paranormal investigators suggest that the concentrated energy of human-animal interactions, combined with the emotional weight of the animals' deaths and departures, may have created residual spiritual imprints that persist to this day. One of the most unsettling aspects of Marine World's abandoned sections is the recurring appearance of ghostly marine animals. Witnesses have described seeing the translucent forms of dolphins leaping from the water or sea lions sliding across empty pools, their movements eerily lifelike yet intangible. These apparitions often appear near the old viewing platforms, as if inviting visitors to watch a show that no longer exists. Some reports even include the sensation of being watched, as though unseen eyes are following intruders through the deserted exhibits. These encounters are often accompanied by other phenomena, such as flickering lights, unexplained noises, and the sudden sensation of being touched by a cold, invisible presence. The older, disused sections of the park, such as the original main entrance and the first generation of rides, have their own collection of haunting experiences. Visitors report seeing fleeting shadows dart across abandoned walkways, hearing footsteps echo where no one is present, and feeling cold spots that appear and vanish without explanation. The combination of abandoned structures, rusting metal, and stagnant water creates an atmosphere that amplifies the perception of the supernatural. Many who explore these areas describe the feeling of being watched, a persistent unease that seems to follow them from the pools to the empty animal enclosures and beyond. Historically, the park has had its share of accidents and unfortunate events, including the deaths of animals and occasional injuries to staff and visitors. Some believe these tragedies have left behind residual energy that manifests as the ghostly activity reported today. Witnesses often describe the apparitions as peaceful rather than aggressive, as if the spirits are replaying fragments of happier times. swimming and leaping as they once did in life. At the same time, the silence and decay of the abandoned areas create a stark contrast to the joy and energy these animals once brought, lending a somber, almost mournful quality to the haunting. Many paranormal investigators have made repeated visits to Marine World's abandoned sections, hoping to capture evidence of these phenomena. Photographs often reveal shadowy figures along pool edges or behind chain-link fencing, and audio recordings sometimes include clicks, whistles, or the faint sound of water slapping against pool walls when no source is present. Visitors report that the more time they spend in these sections, the more pronounced the activity becomes, as if the spirits are drawn to human attention or curious about those who wander into their once familiar spaces. The park's partially operational status adds another layer of strangeness to these experiences. While the modern sections bustle with life and entertainment, the abandoned areas remain frozen in time, a stark reminder of what has been lost. The contrast between the lively present and the ghostly echoes of the past can be jarring. As visitors transition from bustling exhibits to deserted pools and shadowed corridors in these abandoned sections, the line between the living and the spectral is thin, and the past seems to reach forward, inviting onlookers to witness the lingering presence of animals and humans alike. Marine World, Africa, USA, as abandoned areas serve as both a fascinating historical record and a haunting glimpse into the unknown. Ghostly marine animals, unexplained sounds, sudden chills, and fleeting shadows combine to create an atmosphere unlike any other amusement or animal park. For those brave enough to explore these deserted sections, the experience is a chilling reminder that even spaces once filled with joy and life can carry echoes of the past, haunting the present with glimpses of what once was. The abandoned pools, cages, and walkways of Marine World remain a silent testament to the memories and spirits of animals and humans, offering a hauntingly beautiful, if unsettling, journey into the paranormal side of California's amusement parks. Playland, located along the northern edge of San Francisco, was once a vibrant amusement park that drew crowds from across the Bay Area. Opening in the early 20th century and operating until the 1970s, the park was a place of laughter, excitement, and summer thrills. Its attractions ranged from thrilling roller coasters and bumper cars to a sprawling funhouse and Ferris wheel overlooking the city. For decades, families and thrill seekers flocked to Playland to experience the bright lights, cheerful music, and the intoxicating energy of a park that never seemed to sleep. But after its closure in the 1970s, Playland fell into decay, leaving behind crumbling rides, silent pathways, and an unsettling atmosphere that has led to persistent stories of paranormal activity, earning it a place among San Francisco's most haunted locations. Visitors who explore the remnants of Playland often report hearing the unmistakable screams of children near the old funhouse. While the structure itself is long abandoned, its warped mirrors and rattling doors seem to echo laughter and shrieks from decades past. Paranormal investigators suggest that the intense emotions, excitement, fear, and joy experienced by countless children over the park's operational years may have left behind residual energy, manifesting as ghostly sounds and movements that persist long after the physical structures have deteriorated. One of the most commonly reported phenomena at Playland is the disembodied music drifting from the abandoned rides. Visitors have described hearing carnival tunes, organ music, and the creaking melodies of the carousel, even when no electricity is present. These auditory experiences often occur in the evening or at night, when the park is at its quietest, making the contrast between silence and ghostly music particularly striking. Some witnesses claim to have seen shadows moving in rhythm with the music, as though the echoes of past patrons are dancing along the pathways and abandoned attractions. Photographs taken in the park's derelict sections sometimes reveal hazy figures near the carousel and Ferris wheel, figures that vanish when approached, leaving only a sense of lingering presence behind. The Ferris wheel, once a symbol of Playland's skyline, has become a hotspot for paranormal activity. Its rusting frame creaks in the wind, but visitors frequently report seeing shadowy figures seated in the gondolas, staring out over the empty park or at the city beyond. These figures appear briefly, only to dissolve when approached, leaving behind the faint scent of popcorn or cotton candy, as if the memories of the past are clinging to the air. Others have felt sudden chills along the pathways near the Ferris wheel, accompanied by the impression of invisible hands brushing against their shoulders or tugging gently at their clothing, an unnerving reminder that Playland's history still lingers in the shadows. The funhouse itself, with its warped mirrors, uneven floors, and maze-like corridors, has been a focal point for ghost hunters and thrill-seekers alike. Those who venture inside report seeing fleeting reflections that do not match their movements, as though someone or something is following them. The creaking of the floorboards often seems to come from spaces where no one stands, and the smell of old candy and popcorn sometimes wafts through the hallways without explanation. These reports reinforce the park's reputation as a place where the energy of the past continues to replay itself, trapped within the decaying structures of Playland. The abandoned roller coaster, once one of the park's most thrilling attractions, is another hotspot for spectral activity. Witnesses frequently report hearing the whoosh of cars along the tracks, the screams of riders, and the rhythmic clatter of wooden supports. Even though the ride has been out of operation for decades, some visitors claim to see shadowy figures seated in the coaster cars, their faces obscured but unmistakably human, moving as if frozen in time. These experiences are often accompanied by sudden drops in temperature, unexplained gusts of wind, and an overwhelming sense of being watched, lending a tangible presence to the memories of past patrons who once screamed with delight along the track. Playlands surrounding boardwalks and pathways also hold a reputation for supernatural occurrences. The rusting game booths, crumbling concession stands, and faded signage create an eerie atmosphere, particularly at dusk or nightfall. Paranormal investigators have documented electronic voice phenomena (EVPs) throughout the area, capturing faint giggles, phrases, and the indistinct voices of children that seem impossibly close, yet entirely untraceable. Cold spots appear in random locations along the boardwalk, often accompanied by the sensation of unseen eyes, tracking every movement. Even decades after its closure, Playland remains a place where the past refuses to remain buried. The combination of abandoned structures, residual energy, and the strong emotional imprint left by countless visitors creates an environment ripe for paranormal activity. Those who venture into the park are often struck by a deep, inexplicable unease, as if the park itself remembers the joy, fear, and excitement of generations that once walked its grounds. Playland, with its derelict funhouse, abandoned rides, and haunted pathways, stands as a testament to the lingering presence of history and emotion. While the music, laughter, and thrill-seeking crowds have long since vanished, the echoes of the past continue to replay themselves in spectral form. Visitors may hear the screams of children, catch glimpses of shadowy figures, or feel invisible hands brush against them, all serving as chilling proof that Playland's spirit refuses to rest. For those brave enough to walk its empty pathways, the park offers a haunting glimpse into a world where joy and terror coexist, frozen in time and forever echoing across the ruins of a once beloved amusement park. Fantasy Island, located in Redwood City, California, was once a bustling amusement park that attracted families, teenagers, and thrill-seekers from across the Bay Area. Established in the mid-20th century, the park offered a colorful assortment of rides, from classic roller coasters and spinning teacups to Ferris wheels that offered sweeping views of the surrounding area. Children's laughter, delighted screams, and the cheerful tones of carnival music filled the air, creating an atmosphere of excitement and joy. Yet after decades of operation, Fantasy Island fell into decline, closing its gates and leaving behind the skeletal remains of rides and crumbling pathways. In the years since, stories of ghostly apparitions, unexplained sounds, and paranormal phenomena have turned the abandoned park into a magnet for those curious about the supernatural. Visitors to Fantasy Island frequently report seeing shadowy figures moving along the rusting roller coaster tracks. These apparitions often appear to be riding the cars, their forms dark and indistinct, disappearing when approached. Some witnesses describe seeing faint outlines of families walking along the pathways, laughter and conversation echoing in the night air, despite no one being present. Paranormal investigators have captured photographs showing blurred figures in positions that suggest they are seated in the remnants of the rides, as if frozen in time. Others report the feeling of unseen hands brushing past them as they explore, or a cold presence following closely at their heels, heightening the unnerving sensation that the park is not entirely abandoned. One of the most persistent reports comes from the remains of the Ferris wheel. The towering structure, once a centerpiece of Fantasy Island, now stands silent against the night sky. Visitors describe feeling a pull toward the ride, as though invisible forces are drawing them closer. Some have reported hearing the creaking and clanking of the wheel turning, accompanied by faint, spectral laughter. Shadows occasionally appear in the gondolas, flickering in and out of view, leaving behind the unmistakable impression of long-past riders who have not left the park behind. On certain nights, the wind carries the faint melody of carnival music across the empty fairgrounds, a sound that seems to emanate from nowhere, yet fills the air with the unmistakable spirit of the park's former life. The carousel, another iconic feature of Fantasy Island, has also been a hotspot for paranormal encounters. Visitors report hearing the whirring and clanging of the ride's machinery, coupled with the sound of hooves striking wooden floors. Some have seen ghostly children riding the painted horses, their forms flickering in and out of existence. EVP's electronic voice phenomena, captured during investigations, often reveal indistinct voices, laughter, and the faint calls of children, suggesting that the energy of those who once enjoyed the park remains trapped within its structures. The carousel appears to act as a focal point for lingering spirits, attracting both the curious and the brave to witness its haunted activity firsthand. The abandoned bumper cars and game booths have not escaped attention either. The empty arenas often echo with the sounds of phantom collisions, the laughter of unseen patrons, and occasional cries that seem to originate from nowhere. Shadows flit across the walls and floors, often darting just out of sight or disappearing when confronted. Some visitors describe sudden temperature drops in these areas, accompanied by the sensation of invisible eyes watching from the darkness. These phenomena create a chilling contrast to the joyful memories the park once held, emphasizing the lingering presence of past visitors and the emotional residue left behind in the wake of Fantasy Island's closure. Even the park's pathways and concession areas are said to be haunted. Rusted signage, overgrown walkways, and collapsing structures create an atmosphere of decay and abandonment. Walkers report the echo of footsteps behind them when no one is there, faint whispers that vanish when they turn to listen, and the feeling of being observed by invisible entities. Cold spots appear unpredictably, sometimes accompanied by a light touch or brush against the skin, suggesting the unseen presence of spirits who still wander the grounds. Investigators note that these manifestations are strongest near areas that saw the most activity during the park's operational years, particularly along ride entrances, midway paths, and near the central attractions. Historical context adds weight to the stories. Fantasy Island experienced several accidents over its decades of operation, ranging from minor injuries to tragic deaths. While these events are long past, many believe that the emotional energy tied to those incidents has left residual imprints that manifest as ghostly activity. The combination of abandoned rides, the emotional intensity of the park's heyday, and the physical decay of the structures creates an environment where the past is both tangible and hauntingly present. Visitors who brave the abandoned sections of Fantasy Island often leave with stories of fleeting figures, unexplained sounds, and the uncanny sensation of time overlapping. Some report hearing carnival music drifting through the night air, seeing lights flicker along empty rides, or feeling invisible hands tug at their clothing. Photographs sometimes capture translucent figures, shapes moving across rides, or shadows in areas where none should exist. Each account adds to the growing legend of Fantasy Island, reinforcing its reputation as a place where the past refuses to remain in the past. Fantasy Island's abandoned grounds stand as a chilling reminder of the impermanence of joy and the enduring power of memory. The skeletal rides, derelict pathways, and decaying attractions are silent witnesses to decades of happiness, fear, and occasional tragedy. Yet, within that silence, the echoes of the park's former life continue to replay. Ghostly riders, phantom laughter, and spectral music remind visitors that even in abandonment, Fantasy Island's spirit endures, a haunting testament to the lives and memories that once filled its colorful grounds. Those who dare to walk its deserted paths are offered a glimpse into a world where joy and haunting coexist, where the past lingers, watching, waiting, and sometimes reaching out. The Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk is one of California's most iconic seaside amusement parks, known for its vibrant rides, arcade games, and beachfront charm. While the main park remains a bustling destination for tourists and locals alike, several abandoned sections, including old warehouses, defunct ride areas, and decaying walkways, tell a far darker story. These neglected corners of the park have long been the subject of local lore and paranormal investigation. Visitors and ghost hunters alike report a range of eerie experiences, from fleeting reflections of people long gone to the apparitions of children near rides that no longer operate. In these abandoned sections, the joyful sounds of the active park are replaced by an unsettling silence, punctuated with whispers, footsteps, and other unexplained phenomena. Among the most reported hauntings are the apparitions of children. Many visitors recount seeing small figures darting across the pathways or playing near the rusted remnants of old rides. These figures are often glimpsed from the corner of the eye, disappearing when observers attempt to get a closer look. Some describe hearing faint laughter, whispers, or the patter of small feet, even when the area is completely empty. Paranormal investigators have recorded EVPs, capturing high-pitched giggles and the sound of children's voices calling out indistinct names, suggesting that the energy of long-past play and innocence lingers within these abandoned sections. Witnesses often report feeling watched, as though unseen eyes are tracking their movements along deserted corridors and ride platforms. The abandoned warehouses near the boardwalk have their own unsettling reputation. Once used for ride maintenance and storage, these structures now sit silent and decaying, their windows shattered and interiors filled with dust and rusting equipment. Visitors report hearing the echo of footsteps, doors creaking open and shut, and objects moving seemingly of their own accord. Some have even seen fleeting reflections in broken glass, showing shadowy figures that vanish when approached. The combination of darkness, decay, and residual energy makes these warehouses hotspots for paranormal activity. Cold spots are frequently reported, often accompanied by a sudden, inexplicable feeling of dread or anxiety, as though the atmosphere itself is charged with unseen presence. Certain old rides, now silent and corroded by the salty ocean air, continue to play a role in the park's spectral lore. Witnesses frequently mention seeing ghostly figures on Ferris wheels, swings, and carousels. Some visitors report hearing the familiar creaks of ride machinery or the faint hum of music from long decommissioned attractions. Photographs taken at night in these areas occasionally reveal blurred shapes or shadowy figures, lending visual proof to the stories told by those who have walked the abandoned sections alone. The boardwalks, midway, lined with empty booths and overgrown walkways, amplifies the eerie atmosphere. Many report the sensation of being followed by invisible presences, accompanied by sudden chills that cut through the warmth of the ocean breeze. Doors on shuttered buildings slam without explanation, and faint whispers echo along the pathways, as if past visitors are replaying moments of their lives. Shadows are often seen flitting across walls, sometimes resembling adults or teenagers, while others are smaller and appear childlike. Some paranormal enthusiasts suggest that these residual energies are tied to the countless hours of human activity in the park, particularly the strong emotions of joy, fear, and anticipation that filled these areas for decades. Abandoned storage areas and backstage sections hold particularly chilling stories. Visitors exploring these areas often describe hearing muffled voices as if conversations are occurring in rooms that have been empty for decades. Some report seeing fleeting reflections of people in period clothing, suggesting apparitions of employees or patrons from the park's earlier years. Doors are said to open and close on their own, objects fall or shift inexplicably, and cold drafts sweep through otherwise still rooms. Investigators have noted that paranormal activity tends to intensify at night or during periods of low visitor presence, hinting at the possibility that the spirits are drawn to solitude or the absence of modern energy. One of the more unsettling phenomena involves the echoes of long-past accidents and tragedies. While the boardwalk has maintained a safe operational environment in its active sections, accidents were not uncommon in the park's early days. Witnesses claim that in certain abandoned areas, the cries of children or adults involved in these incidents can still be heard faintly, as though trapped in time. The combination of spectral figures, disembodied sounds, and the general atmosphere of decay creates an environment that feels frozen between the past and present, where memories of both joy and sorrow replay endlessly. Even the boardwalks, older storage sheds, and backstage corridors contain evidence of lingering presences. Visitors have described feelings of unease that grow more intense the longer they remain, with shadows appearing in peripheral vision and sudden drops in temperature adding to the chilling ambience. Some claim to hear distant music from rides that no longer exist, accompanied by the faint scent of popcorn and cotton candy, as if the park itself is remembering the days when it was alive with laughter and activity. Photographs often reveal ghostly shapes moving along empty walkways or in the backgrounds of old rides, further cementing the park's reputation as a place where the past refuses to fade. For those brave enough to explore the abandoned sections of the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, the experience is both thrilling and unnerving. Ghostly children, fleeting reflections, disembodied voices, and the lingering energy of decades gone by converge to create an environment unlike any other amusement park. These forgotten corners serve as a haunting reminder that even places of joy and excitement can carry echoes of the past, frozen in time and replaying endlessly for those who venture too close. The boardwalk's abandoned sections remain a silent testament to the lives, laughter, and lingering spirits that continue to haunt the once vibrant park. The Pike, once a shining jewel along the Long Beach waterfront, was renowned for its nightly entertainment, bustling boardwalk, and vibrant carnival atmosphere. From the early 20th century through its heyday in the 1980s, the Pike drew thousands of visitors each week, offering everything from arcades and bumper cars to live shows and music performances that kept the crowds entertained long after sunset. The air was filled with the sound of laughter, the rhythmic creak of rides, and the melodic tones of live music drifting across the promenade. Yet over time, the park declined, parts of it were demolished, and many of the once busy attractions now lie in ruin. Despite the absence of crowds, the abandoned areas of the Pike have gained a reputation for paranormal activity, drawing the attention of ghost hunters and curious thrill seekers alike. Those who explore the remaining structures report hearing echoes of the park's past life. Applause, laughter, and the faint hum of music are frequently described as emanating from empty theaters and demolished stages where no human presence exists. Visitors often recount stepping into a darkened corridor or an abandoned ride area, only to hear the faint clapping of hands or the murmurs of conversation from unseen crowds. Some have described the sensation of being followed through empty hallways, as though invisible spectators are moving along the pathways alongside them, keeping pace silently yet persistently. These auditory phenomena create a chilling juxtaposition, the remnants of joy and entertainment replaying themselves in the desolate ruins of a once vibrant amusement area. One of the most commonly reported experiences occurs near the skeletal remains of the roller coaster and Ferris wheel. Witnesses claim to see faint silhouettes moving along the tracks or in the gondolas, figures that vanish when approached. Some describe seeing ghostly performers on stages that were once illuminated with bright lights, their forms translucent and flickering as though trapped in a loop of past performances. The sense of being observed is a recurring theme among visitors, Many report sudden chills, goosebumps, or the overwhelming feeling that invisible eyes are watching their every move as they navigate the decaying pathways. The arcade and game areas, now silent and covered in dust, hold their own supernatural reputation. Those who step inside frequently report hearing the clatter of token machines, the dinging of arcade games, and the faint, distant laughter of children who once played there. Shadowy figures are often glimpsed in peripheral vision, darting between broken machines or along the walls, disappearing the instant they are fully seen. Some visitors experience objects shifting or falling without explanation, while cold drafts move through the rooms in ways that defy logic. Paranormal investigators note that these phenomena often coincide with areas that saw the most activity during the Pike's operational years, suggesting that emotional residue, particularly from joy, excitement, and anticipation, may be lingering in the environment. The theaters and performance stages were once the heart of nightly entertainment, drawing crowds for magic shows, musical acts, and variety performances. Today, these spaces are often silent, yet visitors have reported hearing applause and cheers echoing across empty auditoriums. Some claim to catch glimpses of shadowy figures taking bows or walking behind the remnants of stage curtains. EVP's electronic voice phenomena captured in these areas frequently contain indistinct voices, laughter, and the sounds of music, reinforcing the impression that the energy of past performances remains trapped within the structures. Even in daylight, many report an eerie sense of anticipation, as if the venues are still expecting audiences that will never arrive. The boardwalk itself, now partially crumbling and overgrown in sections, is another focal point for ghostly activity. Rusting railings, empty concession stands, and the skeletal remains of rides create an unsettling atmosphere, particularly at night or during low visibility. Visitors describe hearing footsteps following them along deserted walkways, whispers of conversations from the past, and occasional flickering lights that seem to respond to their movements. Shadowy forms, sometimes adult and sometimes childlike, have been spotted darting between structures, vanishing when approached. Cold spots frequently appear, often accompanied by a sensation of pressure or a light touch, as if invisible hands are brushing against the skin. Historical incidents and accidents have added to the Pike's spectral lore. While the park was mostly a site of joy and entertainment, mishaps and tragedies did occur, leaving emotional imprints on the environment. Some witnesses claim that cries of distress, the echo of warnings, or the energy of fear can still be sensed in certain abandoned areas, blending with the sounds of laughter and applause to create an unnerving, layered experience. Investigators note that these residual energies appear strongest in areas that were most active or emotionally charged, such as ride entrances, theaters, and the midway. Even partially demolished sections of the Pike, where concrete foundations and rusted beams remain, are not immune to haunting phenomena. Visitors report hearing the hum of rides long gone, catching fleeting glimpses of performers and patrons, and feeling the sensation of time folding back on itself as past and present converge. The park seems to retain an echo of its former energy, replaying moments of joy, excitement, and even fear for those who enter its desolate spaces. The skeletal remnants of the Pike act as silent witnesses to decades of human emotion, preserving the spirit of a place that was once full of life. For those daring enough to explore the abandoned corners of the Pike, the experience is both fascinating and unnerving. Ghostly performers, shadowy patrons, disembodied applause, and phantom music remind visitors that while the physical structures may decay, the essence of the park endures. The energy of countless nights of entertainment, laughter, and excitement has left an indelible mark, replaying itself in spectral form for anyone willing to walk the empty boardwalks. The Pike, in its partially demolished state, stands as a haunting testament to the lingering power of memory, emotion, and the enduring echoes of a place that once brought joy to so many. Belmont Park, perched along the scenic coastline of San Diego, is a historic amusement destination renowned for its vibrant rides, bustling boardwalk, and iconic Giant Dipper roller coaster. while the main park continues to draw visitors. Several abandoned sections, including storage buildings, maintenance areas, and long-forgotten corridors, carry a much darker reputation. These neglected spaces, shielded from the laughter and activity of the open park, have become hotspots for paranormal activity, attracting ghost hunters and thrill seekers alike. Visitors exploring these forgotten corners report ghostly whispers, disembodied footsteps, and the unnerving sensation of being watched, suggesting that the energy of Belmont Park's past lingers in unexpected ways. Many accounts center around the old storage buildings, which were once used to house ride parts, supplies, and seasonal decorations. Now dusty and dimly lit, these structures feel frozen in time, yet echo with phantom activity. Visitors often report hearing footsteps that pace along the wooden floors, doors creaking open and shut without explanation, and faint whispers that seem to call out indistinct names. Paranormal investigators have recorded EVPs capturing soft, ghostly voices in these areas, voices that vanish when listeners try to locate the source. Some describe the feeling of unseen hands brushing against their shoulders or lightly tugging at their clothing as they navigate narrow hallways or abandoned rooms, a sensation that can provoke a mix of fear and awe. The maintenance corridors and workshops, once bustling with activity from park employees, have also become focal points for supernatural encounters. Guests frequently report seeing shadowy figures flit across the rooms, sometimes appearing to carry out tasks or move equipment that is long decayed or immobile. Cold spots are often noted, sudden drops in temperature that send shivers through anyone present. The atmosphere in these spaces is thick with a sense of anticipation, as if invisible presences are replaying fragments of their former lives in an endless loop. Some visitors report a subtle pressure in the air, or the sensation of someone standing just behind them, though no one is there. One of the most unsettling phenomena occurs near the abandoned service tunnels beneath the park. These subterranean passages, used historically to transport supplies and connect ride infrastructure, are dimly lit and echo with every sound. Witnesses have reported hearing distant, muffled laughter, the rhythmic clang of machinery, and the faint murmur of conversations, all originating from tunnels that are otherwise empty. Occasional glimpses of shadowy forms are said to appear in the corner of the eye, vanishing when observers attempt to focus. Some believe these areas retain residual energy from decades of human activity, particularly the workers and performers who moved through the tunnels daily. Visitors exploring abandoned ride areas also recount chilling experiences. The skeletal remains of older attractions, now rusted and overgrown, often seem alive with echoes of past excitement. Faint music, laughter, and a rhythmic creaking of long-defunct rides have been reported by multiple eyewitnesses. Even in the open, deserted sections of Belmont Park, the haunting persists. Boardwalks that were once crowded with visitors now lie empty, their wooden planks creaking underfoot even when no one is near. Shadows flit across walls and corners, often moving independently of light sources, creating the impression that invisible people are traversing the area. On particularly quiet evenings, the faint echo of music or applause can be heard, drifting through empty spaces, as if the park is replaying the energy of decades past. Visitors report the sensation of being followed, of cold drafts brushing past them, and of glimpses of figures who vanish the moment they attempt to look directly. Some investigators and thrill seekers attribute these hauntings to the intense emotional energy that once filled Belmont Park. For decades, the park was a place of joy, excitement, and intense human activity. Children's laughter, performers, rehearsals, and the daily bustle of maintenance and staff all left energetic imprints on the structures themselves. The abandoned storage areas, tunnels, and ride sections of Belmont Park also carry the weight of minor accidents and historical incidents. While the park has always strived to maintain safety, mishaps were not uncommon during its early decades. Witnesses often describe the faint echoes of distress, cries, or shouts in areas that have been long vacated, blending with the laughter and music that the park is known for. These auditory anomalies, paired with visual and physical phenomena, reinforce the park's reputation as a place where the past lingers, refusing to fade completely. For those brave enough to explore the abandoned corners of Belmont Park, the experience is both thrilling and unnerving. Ghostly whispers, shadowy figures, cold spots, and subtle touches create a palpable sense of the supernatural. A reminder that even spaces once full of life and activity can retain echoes of the past. The abandoned sections act as silent witnesses to decades of joy, labor, and occasional misfortune, preserving the energy and memory of countless people who once moved through them. In these quiet, forgotten areas, the boundary between past and present feels tenuous, and the presence of unseen forces serves as a constant reminder that Belmont Park's history continues to live on in spectral form. Lincoln Park, once a bustling amusement area in Los Angeles, was a place where families gathered for fun, laughter, and entertainment. In its heyday, the park was filled with colorful rides, arcades, and a lively carousel that spun endlessly as children ran along the walkways. Bright lights, music, and the aroma of cotton candy and popcorn created a festive atmosphere, making Lincoln Park a beloved local attraction. Yet, decades after its closure, the park's abandoned grounds have gained a dark reputation. Locals and paranormal enthusiasts alike report strange phenomena, spectral figures near the old carousel, phantom screams, and unexplained movements that hint at a lingering presence of the past. The energy of joy, excitement, and, sometimes, tragedy seems frozen in the deserted structures, replaying silently for those who venture too close. The carousel, once the heart of the park, is said to be one of the most haunted spots. Witnesses report seeing translucent children riding the carved horses, their forms flickering in and out of visibility. Some describe hearing faint laughter and cries that echo through the empty park, sounding as if the carousel is still in motion even when the platform is still and covered in dust. Paranormal investigators have captured EVPs here, often recording indistinct voices of children calling out names, giggling, or crying. Many who approach the carousel report an overwhelming sense of being watched, a feeling that unseen eyes are tracking their movements as they step closer. The combination of sound, sight, and sensation makes this area particularly unnerving for those exploring the abandoned amusement grounds. Beyond the carousel, the walkways and old ride platforms are known for unusual cold spots and sudden drops in temperature. Visitors often report that a single step into a specific area can bring on chills that are impossible to attribute to the weather. Shadowy figures have been glimpsed darting across pathways, appearing and vanishing with no discernible pattern. Some observers describe feeling a light touch on their shoulders or back as they wander the park, followed by an inexplicable sense of unease. These sensations are accompanied by faint whispers, as if the remnants of past conversations are replaying in the air, echoing the lives of those who once filled Lincoln Park with laughter and excitement. The park's arcades and concession areas, though long decayed and covered in dust, also seem to retain residual energy. Visitors report hearing the jingle of game machines, the clatter of pins, or the faint ringing of bells. Even though all equipment is silent and in disrepair, some have seen shadows moving among the stalls, while others capture fleeting images on photographs. Blurred forms that resemble children or teenagers walking through the empty rooms. Paranormal researchers suggest that these hauntings may be connected to the concentrated emotional energy of countless visitors who once frequented the park, particularly the intense joy and anticipation associated with games, rides, and festivities. Old theaters and performance spaces within Lincoln Park have their own ghostly tales. Once used for live shows, magic acts, and musical performances, these structures now stand silent and decaying. Witnesses often hear faint applause, the creak of stage equipment, or the soft murmur of conversations that seem to come from nowhere. Shadowy figures have been observed pacing behind deteriorating curtains or standing frozen in the aisles, appearing almost as if trapped in a permanent rehearsal. These residual images are typically fleeting, disappearing the moment they are approached, yet they leave a lasting impression on those who witness them. The sensation of the past pressing against the present is palpable. creating a sense of timelessness where the energy of previous occupants continues to linger. The open grounds and walkways of Lincoln Park are not immune to spectral activity. Rusting railings, broken benches, and remnants of old rides create an unsettling landscape, particularly at dusk or during quiet hours. Witnesses often describe the feeling of being followed by invisible presences, footsteps echoing behind them, and sudden noises like doors slamming or metal creaking that have no logical source. Some report the smell of popcorn or cotton candy drifting through the air despite the abandonment, a sensory echo of the park's vibrant past. Shadows frequently appear at the edges of vision, small figures moving quickly before vanishing, adding to the sense that the park itself is alive with the memories of those who once enjoyed it. Historical incidents and minor accidents have contributed to Lincoln Park's haunted reputation. While the park was largely a place of enjoyment, mishaps were inevitable during its decades of operation. Visitors in the abandoned areas occasionally report hearing distress calls or cries that seem trapped in time, blending with laughter and music from happier moments. The combination of auditory, visual, and tactile experiences reinforces the notion that the park has become a vessel for past energies, replaying fragments of life long after its gates have closed. Even the decaying structures along the park's perimeter, including storage sheds and backstage areas, have been associated with strange occurrences. Reports include sudden temperature drops, shadowy figures, and faint sounds of movement. Despite no living person being present, many visitors describe an intangible sense of dread or anticipation, a feeling that invisible eyes are constantly observing them as they navigate the abandoned grounds. Paranormal investigators note that these areas, particularly those most heavily trafficked during the park's active years, appear to retain concentrated residual energy, manifesting in various forms for those sensitive enough to detect it. For those willing to explore Lincoln Park's abandoned sections, the experience is both exhilarating and unsettling. Phantom laughter, ghostly children, mysterious shadows, and inexplicable touches remind visitors that the echoes of the past are far from gone. The park's long-forgotten rides and corridors act as a haunting testament to the lives, joys, and occasional tragedies that unfolded there. Even in its abandoned state, Lincoln Park continues to hold on to the memories of countless visitors, performers, and staff, preserving them in spectral form for anyone brave enough to wander its empty, echoing grounds. Palisades Amusement Park, once a lively attraction nestled along the hills of Los Angeles, thrived for decades before its closure in the 1970s. During its operational years, the park was filled with laughter, music, and the creaking rhythm of rides that thrilled visitors of all ages. The roller coasters, Ferris wheel, and carnival games drew crowds daily, while concession stands sold popcorn, cotton candy, and other treats that filled the air with sweet scents. But even after the gates were shuttered and the rides dismantled, the hills and remnants of the park have maintained an eerie presence, drawing paranormal enthusiasts and curious explorers eager to experience the lingering echoes of Palisades' past. Locals frequently report hearing ghostly laughter, faint music, and the silhouettes of figures tracing the old roller coaster tracks at dusk, as though the park's spirit refuses to rest. The most commonly reported hauntings occur along the remains of the roller coaster. Though the tracks have long since been removed in sections, witnesses describe seeing faint, translucent figures moving along the steel supports or racing along the paths where wooden cars once ran. Some claim to hear the familiar creak of the ride, the rush of wind, and the screams of delighted passengers, all echoing across the hills when no one else is nearby. The effect is often strongest during twilight, when the setting sun casts long shadows and the environment feels suspended between day and night. Visitors often describe an intense feeling of being watched, as though unseen eyes are tracking their every step along the overgrown paths. Beyond the roller coaster, the park's old carnival areas also appear to retain residual energy. Where once bright lights, colorful tints, and the hum of games filled the air, there is now silence and decay. But the ghostly presence of the past remains. Spectral figures are frequently observed near the remnants of the carousel, bumper car arena, and midway. Some report catching glimpses of children laughing and running, their forms flickering at the edges of vision before vanishing entirely. Others describe hearing faint, distorted music, as though the calliope or carousel organs have begun playing again, replaying joyful moments that occurred decades ago. The effect is often disorienting, leaving visitors uncertain whether what they sense is memory, imagination, or a real encounter with lingering spirits. The hills surrounding Palisades Amusement Park amplify the sense of isolation and unease. Trees, overgrowth, and the uneven terrain obscure the old foundations and ride remnants, creating shadows and shapes that seem to move independently. Many visitors report the sudden feeling of cold air brushing past them, accompanied by whispers and unintelligible murmurs. Some even claim to have felt light touches on their shoulders, as if unseen hands are brushing against them as they explore. The combination of physical sensation, sound, and sight creates an immersive paranormal experience, one that seems rooted in the intense human activity and emotion the park once contained. Several reports describe ghostly performers appearing near the old stages or entertainment platforms. During Palisades' heyday, the park hosted magic shows, musical acts, and other live performances that drew crowds nightly. Today, some claim to see the faint outlines of performers pacing behind empty stages or appearing to bow at invisible audiences. The air often carries faint echoes of applause and cheering, replaying long-forgotten reactions of visitors. Some paranormal investigators suggest these phenomena may be residual energy, memories of intense human emotion imprinted upon the audience, manifesting to those sensitive enough to detect it. The concession and storage areas, though largely inaccessible or overgrown, are another hot spot for activity. Visitors report hearing the clatter of crates, the shuffle of footsteps, and faint whispers calling out names, despite there being no human presence. Some claim to glimpse shadowy figures moving between structures, disappearing as soon as they are fully seen. Cold spots are common, sometimes accompanied by the smell of popcorn or cotton candy, sensory remnants of the park's bustling past. These manifestations suggest that even the smallest areas, once filled with energy and labor, can preserve traces of human activity long after abandonment. In addition to playful echoes, some experiences carry a more unsettling tone. The screams heard along the roller coaster paths or near abandoned ride structures occasionally shift from joy to terror, as if residual fear from past accidents or distressing events is imprinted alongside memories of laughter. Witnesses have described a sense of urgency in these sounds, a fleeting impression of being caught in the loop of an event long gone. Some report shadowy figures appearing to move rapidly, as if fleeing from or chasing something unseen, heightening the sense of unease. The mix of joyful echoes and occasional distress creates a layered haunting that feels both nostalgic and ominous. Even the natural environment surrounding Palisades contributes to the haunting. The hills, covered in overgrowth and punctuated by the remnants of foundations, amplify sound and create shadows that seem to have a life of their own. Dusk and twilight are often cited as the most active times, when fading light and long shadows create an atmosphere where the boundary between past and present feels thin. Visitors describe the hills themselves as sentient, the contours guiding movement and shaping perceptions, as though the landscape remembers the activity that once took place. For those who venture into the abandoned sections of Palisades Amusement Park, the experience is as mesmerizing as it is unsettling. Ghostly children, performers, laughter, and screams intermingle with the sounds of the wind and creaking vegetation, creating a multi-layered tapestry of paranormal phenomena. The remains of the roller coaster and carnival rides act as anchors for these manifestations, preserving the echoes of joy, excitement, and occasional fear for those willing to witness them. The abandoned park stands as a testament to the enduring presence of memory, emotion, and history. A place where the past refuses to fade quietly, and the spirit of Palisades continues to play among the hills. Six Flags Magic Mountain in Valencia is widely known as one of California's premier amusement destinations, drawing thrill-seekers with its towering roller coasters, high-speed rides, and vibrant attractions. However, not many visitors are aware that the park harbors a hidden, eerie side. Beyond the bustling news sections lie abandoned areas, older rides, disused maintenance zones, and shuttered attractions that have been closed for decades. These neglected corners of the park, frozen in time, have gained a reputation for paranormal activity. Security personnel, ghost hunters, and curious explorers alike have reported sudden temperature drops, fleeting shadows captured on cameras, and strange sensations that seem to indicate that the energy of the park's past is far from gone. The most frequently cited area of paranormal activity is the old roller coaster section. Though dismantled or left to decay, these skeletal remains of track and support beams are said to be home to shadowy figures that appear and vanish without warning. Witnesses describe seeing translucent forms running along the old pathways, their motion eerily smooth, as if replaying memories of their rides decades ago. Security footage occasionally captures these fleeting shadows, sometimes indistinct, sometimes showing the form of a person or even a small child. Those exploring the abandoned coasters often report a sudden chill in the air, a sensation that intensifies when they approach certain sections of track or ride platforms, suggesting an otherworldly presence anchored to the physical remnants of past attractions. Beyond the roller coasters, the old midways and carnival areas hold a particularly unsettling energy, where bright lights, bustling crowds, and carnival games once filled the air with laughter. Only silence remains now. Visitors have reported hearing faint echoes of music, disembodied laughter, and a soft patter of footsteps across dusty flooring. Some claim to see figures in motion just at the edge of vision, often moving as though performing tasks or riding attractions that no longer exist. EVPs captured in these areas frequently reveal faint, indecipherable whispers, sometimes calling out names or repeating phrases in tones that are both haunting and melancholic. These occurrences suggest that the park's long-abandoned attractions have become vessels for residual energy, replaying fragments of their vibrant past. The maintenance zones and backstage corridors also play host to strange phenomena. Once bustling with employees, ride operators, and repair crews, these areas now stand quiet and dilapidated. Visitors report feeling unseen hands brushing against them or an inexplicable sense of pressure in narrow hallways. Some have heard the clatter of tools or the hum of machinery, even when no equipment is operational. Others describe sudden cold spots that appear without warning, chilling clothing and skin alike. Security cameras occasionally capture shadows moving independently of any staff or wildlife, moving in ways that defy logic. Paranormal researchers suggest that these areas, heavily trafficked during the park's operational past, have retained energetic imprints of the people and activity that once defined them. One of the eeriest reports comes from the old funhouse and dark ride sections. Visitors exploring these long-forgotten attractions describe doors that slam of their own accord, mirrors reflecting figures that vanish when approached, and distant laughter that echoes without source. The distorted corridors, warped mirrors, and decaying props create an environment where the line between reality and spectral illusion feels impossibly thin. Some have reported feeling as if invisible observers are following them, footsteps echoing behind or beside them in perfect sync with their own movements. Even experienced paranormal investigators admit that the intensity and persistence of these hauntings are difficult to explain. The skeletal remains of older ride structures, particularly the wooden coasters and observation towers, also seem to act as focal points for supernatural activity. Shadow figures are sometimes seen standing atop platforms, gazing across the park, only to vanish when approached. Faint echoes of screams, cheers, and the rush of wind-down tracks are frequently reported, giving the impression that the rides themselves have absorbed and replayed the emotions of countless riders over the decades. Some visitors have reported the faint smell of popcorn or candy drifting through abandoned corridors, a sensory memory of happier times lingering in the air. Even areas outside of ride structures, including overgrown paths, fencing, and empty parking lots, carry a strange energy. Visitors report hearing disembodied conversations, faint music, or laughter carried by the wind. Shadows flit across walls and walkways, disappearing when directly observed. Some describe the unsettling impression that unseen eyes are following them, or that an invisible presence is pacing alongside as they explore. These experiences suggest that the park's energy extends beyond the physical structures themselves, seeping into the surrounding environment and preserving traces of the human activity that once animated it. Historical incidents within Magic Mountain's older sections may contribute to the lingering hauntings. Though the park is known for its thrills and entertainment, minor accidents, mechanical malfunctions, and injuries were not uncommon during the mid-20th century. Witnesses exploring abandoned areas sometimes report hearing muffled cries or screams, blending with laughter and music from happier times. This juxtaposition of joy and distress seems to have created a complex energy field, replaying elements of past human emotion in ways that are perceptible to those sensitive enough to detect it. For those who venture into the abandoned areas of Magic Mountain, the experience is both fascinating and unnerving. Shadowy figures, disembodied sounds, cold spots, and fleeting touches create an immersive sense of the supernatural. The skeletal remains of rides, empty corridors, and forgotten attractions act as anchors for these phenomena, preserving echoes of the park's vibrant history. Though Six Flags Magic Mountain continues to operate and entertain thousands, the older abandoned sections remind visitors that even as the park thrives, the memories, energy, and spirits of the past linger quietly, waiting for those daring enough to witness them. Marine World in Chula Vista was once a bustling attraction, drawing visitors from across California to experience its marine exhibits, shows, and interactive animal encounters. Dolphins leaped through the air to applause, sea lions performed tricks, and aquariums teemed with exotic fish. Families strolled along the boardwalks, children laughed as they fed the animals, and trainers worked tirelessly behind the scenes to care for every creature. Yet, long after portions of the park were abandoned or repurposed, strange reports began to emerge from the derelict sections. Empty tanks, rusting cages, and forgotten pathways have become the backdrop for ghostly phenomena, drawing the attention of paranormal investigators and curious explorers alike. Witnesses frequently report echoes of animal cries, fleeting shadows, and the presence of phantom caretakers moving through the deserted enclosures. The old dolphin pools are among the most active sites, though the water has long since been drained and the structures covered in algae and debris. Visitors claim to hear the distinctive squeals and whistles of dolphins as if they are still leaping and playing. Shadowy figures resembling trainers are occasionally seen pacing the empty platforms, checking invisible tanks, or gesturing toward unseen animals. Security footage sometimes captures fleeting movements, too fast or faint to be identified, yet unmistakably human in form. Many who enter the area describe an unsettling feeling of being observed, as though unseen eyes are following them along the empty walkways. The combination of sound, sight, and the lingering scent of saltwater and chlorine intensifies the eerie atmosphere. Beyond the dolphin enclosures, the old sea lion and otter habitats also carry unusual activity. The enclosures, now cracked and overgrown, occasionally emit echoes of barking, chirping, or the slap of water that cannot be traced to any source. Visitors often report seeing small figures moving along the edges of the pools, disappearing when approached. Some describe feeling a cold draft sweep over them, sometimes accompanied by the sensation of being lightly touched, as if invisible hands are brushing past. EVPs recorded in these areas frequently capture faint, distorted voices, sometimes sounding like caretakers calling out to animals or giving commands that are no longer relevant. These residual echoes suggest that the intense human and animal interactions that once took place here may have left an imprint on the environment. The abandoned walkways and boardwalks of Marine World are also hotspots for unexplained phenomena. Rusting railings, faded signage, and cracked pavement are now silent witnesses to the park's past. Yet visitors often hear footsteps echoing behind them, even when no one is present. Shadowy forms are sometimes glimpsed darting between old structures or climbing stairways, vanishing before they can be fully observed. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile experiences contributes to a sense that the park is alive with lingering energy, replaying fragments of its vibrant history for those willing to explore its forgotten corners. Inside the maintenance areas and storage buildings, paranormal activity intensifies. These spaces, once used to store equipment, feed, and cleaning supplies, now stand in disrepair. Yet visitors report sounds of drawers opening and closing, tools clattering, and footsteps moving through empty hallways. Shadowy human forms have been glimpsed among the racks and shelves, often appearing to perform routine tasks as if they are still caring for animals long gone. Sudden cold spots are common, and some witnesses describe feeling a subtle pressure, as though an unseen presence is standing close by. These areas are often cited as some of the most unsettling locations in the abandoned park, where residual energy seems concentrated and particularly responsive to visitors. One of the most unnerving reports comes from the old aquarium tunnels. Visitors who enter these narrow passageways often report the sensation of being followed, hearing muffled voices, or catching brief glimpses of figures moving through the water-filled exhibits that are now empty. Reflections in cracked glass sometimes show forms that are not present in the tunnel itself, adding to the feeling of disorientation. Faint splashes, like the movement of large fish or marine mammals, are frequently reported, though no living creature remains. Paranormal investigators suggest that these tunnels, heavily trafficked by visitors and staff for decades, may act as conduits for the memories and energies of past activity, manifesting in ways perceptible to those sensitive to the supernatural. The old parking areas and perimeter paths surrounding Marine World are not immune to spectral activity. Visitors often hear faint laughter or chatter, distant music, and occasional animal sounds that seem to float across the abandoned grounds. Shadows are frequently observed, moving along the edges of vision, vanishing when turned toward. Some explorers describe an unsettling impression of being watched or followed by invisible presences. These experiences suggest that the park's energy is not confined to the exhibits themselves, but permeates the surrounding environment, creating a pervasive sense of the uncanny. Historical incidents and the intense emotional energy of both visitors and staff during the park's operational years may contribute to these hauntings. Caretakers devoted significant portions of their lives to caring for the animals, often forming deep emotional bonds. Visitors experience joy, excitement, and occasionally fear during animal shows and interactions. Paranormal researchers propose that this mixture of strong human emotion and the presence of animals can create lingering impressions, which manifest as apparitions, sounds, or tactile sensations in the abandoned sections of the park. Exploring Marine World's old sections is a haunting experience that blends the familiar joy of the park's past with the unsettling presence of the unknown. Ghostly animals, phantom caretakers, unexplained noises, and sudden chills create an immersive atmosphere, leaving visitors with a sense that the park continues to live on in spectral form. The abandoned tanks, empty enclosures, and deserted pathways serve as silent vessels for echoes of laughter, cries, and human care, preserving the memory of Marine World's vibrant history long after its doors closed. Cedar Point of the West, a short-lived amusement park once envisioned as California's answer to the thrill-filled attractions of the Midwest, now lies abandoned and largely forgotten. Opened in the mid-20th century, the park struggled to draw visitors and quickly fell into disrepair, leaving behind skeletal remains of roller coasters, empty concession stands, and overgrown pathways. Today, explorers and paranormal enthusiasts venture into the defunct site, drawn not only by curiosity, but by the stories of eerie activity that persist in its decaying structures. Visitors frequently report sudden chills, fleeting shadows, and an overwhelming sense of being watched as they navigate the remnants of rides and attractions long since left to nature. The roller coaster remains are perhaps the most prominent feature of the abandoned park, and a hotspot for reported hauntings. Rusting tracks twist and bend through overgrown grass and creeping ivy, forming skeletal outlines of what were once thrilling rides. Witnesses describe seeing figures moving along the tracks, sometimes appearing as transparent riders or as operators walking the path as if performing duties from decades past. Security cameras set up by local enthusiasts occasionally capture vague shapes moving too quickly to be clearly identified, adding to the park's mystique. Along the walkways near the coaster, sudden drops in temperature have been reported, sending shivers down the spine of those brave enough to explore the area. Some visitors describe a distinct feeling of eyes following them from above, though nothing is visible beyond the roller coaster. Other ride remnants, such as Ferris wheel foundations, empty bumper car arenas, and carousel pedestals, also carry unexplained energy. Visitors frequently report hearing faint echoes of carnival music, laughter, and the soft patter of footsteps. Even when completely alone, some claim to see shadowy figures moving between the decayed structures, pausing near crumbling ticket booths or peering through boarded windows before vanishing. The combination of visual and auditory phenomena often leaves explorers disoriented, struggling to distinguish between imagination and what may be paranormal activity. These sensory experiences suggest that the park's vibrant past has left lingering imprints, replaying fragments of joy, fear, and excitement to those who enter its grounds. The abandoned concession areas and storage buildings amplify the unsettling atmosphere. Once bustling with staff, preparing food, organizing games, and maintaining rides, these structures now stand in quiet decay. Visitors report hearing the clatter of utensils, crates being moved, and whispers calling out instructions as if staff were still tending to their duties. Cold spots frequently accompany these sounds, sometimes forming pockets of freezing air that seem impossible given the surrounding environment. Shadowy forms have been seen moving among shelves and counters, often disappearing as soon as they are directly observed. Paranormal investigators note that these areas, dense with human activity in the past, could serve as focal points for residual energy, manifesting to sensitive individuals in various ways. The pathways and overgrown trails connecting rides are no less eerie. As explorers wander along cracked pavement and through tall weeds, they often feel a presence close behind or notice fleeting movement out of the corner of their eyes. Many describe the sensation of invisible hands brushing past them or a subtle pressure on the shoulders, creating an unnerving feeling of being guided or watched through the ruins. Echoes of past conversations, laughter, and excited screams often seem to carry on the wind, replaying events that occurred decades ago. Even natural sounds, such as rustling leaves or the snap of a branch, are sometimes interpreted as footsteps or movements of unseen figures. The old funhouse and dark ride sections are particularly notorious among visitors. Distorted mirrors, decaying props, and warped walls create an environment where visual tricks and shadows mingle with paranormal phenomena. Some have even described fleeting glimpses of children running through the hallways, their shapes ephemeral and impossible to catch, leaving only the echo of small feet and laughter behind. The effect is often disorienting, heightening both fascination and fear among those exploring the abandoned park. Historical accidents and intense emotional energy from the park's operational years may help explain the persistent hauntings. Though Cedar Point of the West was short-lived, the rides were mechanically intense, and mishaps, minor injuries, or near accidents occurred during its brief history. Visitors exploring abandoned sections sometimes report hearing cries or screams layered with laughter, a chilling blend of joy and terror that seems frozen in time. Paranormal investigators suggest that these imprints of human emotion and physical activity can remain in environments long after the people themselves are gone, manifesting as shadow figures, sounds, and inexplicable sensations. Even the natural environment surrounding the abandoned park contributes to its haunting atmosphere. Overgrown vegetation, decayed structures, and crumbling foundations create shadows and shapes that seem to move independently. Twilight and nighttime visits intensify the effect, as the dim light stretches shadows and obscures familiar landmarks. Many visitors report an overwhelming sense that the park itself is alive, preserving the energy of its short but intense history. The combination of residual emotional energy, derelict structures, and isolation creates an immersive paranormal experience that captivates those willing to explore. For those who venture into Cedar Point of the West, the park offers a haunting glimpse of the past. Shadowy figures, sudden chills, unexplained noises, and the echoes of laughter and screams combine to create a deeply unsettling experience. The skeletal remains of roller coasters, abandoned rides, and decaying buildings act as anchors for these manifestations, preserving fragments of the park's brief history. Though the park's operation was fleeting, its energy endures, reminding visitors that even in abandonment, Cedar Point of the West continues to whisper its stories to those who dare to listen. Adventure City, a small amusement park tucked into Anaheim, California, has long been a favorite for families seeking a quieter, more intimate thrill than the nearby megaparks. While much of the park remains operational, there are sections that have been long abandoned old maintenance buildings, storage areas, and service corridors that have not seen regular use in decades. Despite their unassuming exterior, these neglected spaces have earned a reputation among locals and paranormal enthusiasts as hotspots for unexplained phenomena. Reports of footsteps echoing along empty hallways, whispered conversations with no source, and fleeting shadows moving across walls have made these abandoned sections the subject of ghost stories and investigations. The maintenance buildings, once bustling with activity, now stand silent, except for the occasional creak of weathered wood or the whistle of wind through broken windows. Visitors exploring these spaces often report hearing the unmistakable sounds of footsteps on metal floors or concrete, sometimes matching their own pace, other times moving independently. Shadowy forms are frequently glimpsed darting across corridors or peering out from stairwells, vanishing when approached. The temperature inside these old buildings can drop suddenly, creating cold spots that seem to hover in place, a phenomenon that many attribute to lingering energy from the workers who once maintained the rides and attractions of the park. Storage areas in the abandoned sections also carry their own unsettling energy. Rows of empty shelving, stacks of forgotten equipment, and dusty tools create an atmosphere that feels frozen in time. Visitors often report the sound of drawers opening and closing on their own, the faint clatter of tools, or even the subtle hum of machinery that should no longer be operational. Some have described feeling a sudden brush against their arm or a presence standing just behind them, though no one is there. These encounters are consistent with the idea that the energy of the park's operational days lingers in the very walls and objects, replaying fragments of daily routines in ways that are perceptible to those sensitive to such phenomena. The hallways and service corridors that connect maintenance areas to ride infrastructure are among the most active parts of the abandoned sections. Long, narrow, and dimly lit, these passageways amplify even the smallest sound. Footsteps, whispers, and muffled voices are reported frequently, often giving the impression that former workers are still carrying out their duties or conversing with each other. Some witnesses describe hearing instructions or names being called, only to find the area empty when they turn around. Shadowy figures appear along walls, sometimes moving quickly and sometimes lingering just out of reach, adding to the sense that these spaces are alive with the memories of those who labored there decades ago. The abandoned control rooms and offices are similarly charged with strange activity. Visitors exploring these areas often report flickering lights, despite power being cut off, and sudden cold drafts that sweep across the rooms. Papers may appear to flutter or move without wind, and the faint scent of oil or machinery sometimes lingers in the air. Paranormal investigators have captured EVPs here, recording whispers that resemble conversations, instructions, or even laughter. Some describe seeing forms that resemble former employees reviewing paperwork or walking between desks, only to disappear when approached directly. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile phenomena creates a deeply unsettling atmosphere, making even the most skeptical explorers pause. Outside the buildings, the abandoned pathways, overgrown with weeds and cracked asphalt, also seem to carry an echo of the park's past. Footsteps on these paths often appear to come from behind, though no one is present, and shadows sometimes flit between trees and fences along the route. Visitors have reported feeling watched or followed as they walk, experiencing sudden chills or light touches on shoulders and arms. These experiences suggest that the energy of Adventure City's long-dead sections has extended beyond the walls themselves, creating a pervasive sense of being observed even in open spaces. The abandoned ride maintenance bays, where technicians once stored spare parts or serviced roller coasters and smaller attractions, are particularly noted for paranormal activity. The scent of grease and oil sometimes lingers, accompanied by faint echoes of machinery running. Shadowy figures resembling employees are reported to move among the racks and tools, occasionally vanishing into walls or corners. Cold spots and sudden drafts are common, and unexplained noises like clanging metal, rolling carts, or the soft hum of forgotten motors are frequently heard. Paranormal investigators theorize that these areas, having been the hub of repetitive hands-on work, may have retained energetic imprints of human activity, replaying them for those who enter. Even the abandoned ticket booths and storage sheds contribute to the park's eerie reputation. Here, visitors have reported the feeling of being watched, distant laughter, and whispers that seem to come from nowhere. Shadows occasionally appear to lean against counters or peer out of windows, disappearing when approached. Some claim to hear the faint rustle of tickets being counted or cash registers opening and closing. These sensory experiences, blending sight, sound, and touch, create a palpable sense of the park's lingering presence, giving the impression that the abandoned sections continue to function in a spectral form, preserving memories of the workers and visitors who once animated them. Exploring Adventure City's abandoned sections is a journey into the past, a mix of curiosity, thrill, and unease. The footsteps, whispers, cold spots, and shadowy figures create an immersive atmosphere, leaving visitors with a sensation that the park's operational days have not fully ended. The skeletal maintenance buildings, overgrown paths, and deserted corridors serve as vessels for echoes of daily routines, laughter, and labor, preserving the essence of the park's history long after its doors were closed. Though the small amusement park continues to operate in parts, its abandoned areas remain a haunting reminder that the energy of human activity, joyful, mundane, or intense, can linger, waiting for those daring enough to experience it firsthand. Wonderland Amusement Park, once a vibrant attraction in Los Angeles during the roaring 1920s, is now remembered less for its rides and more for the shadows that linger long after its closure. The park was notorious for multiple fatal accidents, and its short-lived existence left behind a legacy steeped in tragedy and rumors of a curse. Visitors today are drawn to the abandoned grounds not by the promise of entertainment, but by reports of paranormal activity that persist near the Ferris wheel, roller coaster, and scattered remnants of what was once a lively amusement park. Shadowy figures, disembodied screams, and sudden chills create an eerie atmosphere, giving the impression that the park's tragic past continues to play out in spectral form. The abandoned Ferris wheel, a skeletal structure of rusted steel and warped supports, is among the most haunted locations in Wonderland. On moonlit nights, some visitors report hearing the faint creak of the wheel turning, though there is no wind and the machinery has long since ceased. Shadowy figures are often seen moving along the platforms, appearing as translucent riders frozen in motion, or as attendants guiding invisible passengers. Cold spots frequently accompany these sightings, and the air seems heavy with an unexplainable tension, as if the energy of the accidents and lost lives is imprinted upon the metal and wooden beams. Paranormal investigators have recorded EVPs near the Ferris wheel, capturing faint cries, whispers, and fragments of laughter that cannot be explained by natural causes. The roller coaster, another site of repeated tragedy, amplifies the park's haunted reputation. Once a thrilling ride of loops and drops, the decaying tracks now twist through overgrown grass and collapsing supports. Visitors often report hearing the roar of the coaster cars, the screams of riders, and the metallic clanging of tracks. Despite the complete absence of any moving parts, shadowy forms are occasionally seen racing along the rails, vanishing when approached. Some explorers describe a sense of vertigo, as if the energy of past riders is replaying the terror and excitement of long-past accidents. The combination of auditory and visual phenomena creates a disorienting experience, blurring the lines between memory and the supernatural. Beyond the rides, the park's abandoned concession areas, ticket booths, and maintenance sheds also exhibit unusual activity. Visitors frequently hear footsteps echoing through empty hallways, whispers of instructions or conversation, and the faint shuffle of objects moving without cause. Cold drafts sweep unexpectedly through rooms, and some report the sensation of being lightly touched by unseen hands. Shadowy figures sometimes appear in the corners of rooms, leaning against counters or walking between aisles before fading away. Paranormal researchers suggest that these spaces, once filled with daily human activity, may retain energetic imprints of those who worked there, creating residual hauntings that replay fragments of the past. The park's walkways and landscaped areas contribute to the pervasive sense of unease. Overgrown paths, crumbling pavement, and rusting fences cast distorted shadows, which visitors frequently report as moving independently. Footsteps, whispers, and the faint laughter of children can sometimes be heard echoing across the grounds. Many report a feeling of being watched, or that unseen presences are following them as they explore. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile sensations produces an immersive environment where the tragic history of Wonderland seems ever present, replaying itself for those daring enough to witness it. The abandoned funhouse and dark ride attractions are particularly eerie. Mirrors warped by age and neglect distort reflections, creating visual anomalies that can appear as figures or faces when none exists. Visitors often report doors slamming without cause, faint giggles echoing from empty rooms, and shadows darting along walls and floors. Some describe glimpsing figures of children laughing or playing, only to vanish when approached, leaving behind a haunting mix of innocence and sorrow. These locations emphasize the layered nature of Wonderland's hauntings, blending joy and tragedy in ways that continue to unsettle those who enter. Investigators and thrill-seekers alike note that the energy in Wonderland seems to be concentrated around areas where accidents occurred. The Ferris wheel and roller coaster, in particular, are reported as the most active spots. The intense fear, panic, and even the excitement experienced by those present during the park's operational years may have left energetic residues, manifesting as apparitions, sounds, and temperature fluctuations in the abandoned park. Combined with the strong emotional reactions of visitors who now explore the ruins, these factors create a self-reinforcing environment where paranormal activity is frequently reported and perpetuated. The maintenance areas, long abandoned and filled with forgotten equipment, are also active sites for unexplained phenomena. Footsteps echo through empty corridors, drawers open and close on their own, and shadowy figures appear among dusty tools and shelves. Visitors report cold spots and the sensation of pressure, as if invisible presences are standing nearby. Faint mechanical sounds, reminiscent of old ride operations, are often heard, further enhancing the illusion that Wonderland is alive with echoes of its past. These experiences suggest that both the human and mechanical history of the park continue to interact with the present, creating haunting experiences for those who explore. Exploring Wonderland Amusement Park today is a journey into the intersection of joy and tragedy. The skeletal rides, decaying structures, and overgrown pathways all carry the weight of the park's short but infamous history. Shadowy figures, disembodied screams, and sudden chills provide an immersive sense of lingering energy, preserving the memory of the park's tragedies and the lives lost, even decades after its closure. Wonderland continues to captivate those who dare to walk its abandoned grounds, a testament to the enduring presence of past events in physical spaces. For visitors brave enough to enter, the park offers an unsettling but compelling experience. From the Ferris wheel that groans in the wind to the roller coaster tracks that echo with screams, every corner seems imbued with the energy of its tragic history. The abandoned funhouse, maintenance sheds, and walkways collectively serve as vessels for echoes of laughter, fear, and human activity, preserving fragments of Wonderland Amusement Park's legacy for those willing to witness it. The energy of the past is palpable, a haunting reminder that even a short-lived amusement park can leave behind traces that refuse to fade. Marine World Africa, USA, once a thriving attraction in Vallejo, California, holds a reputation that stretches beyond its thrilling rides and exotic exhibits. While parts of the park remain active, the old coral section, long abandoned and left to decay, has drawn attention from paranormal enthusiasts and explorers alike. This area, once home to pools for dolphins, sea lions, and other aquatic animals, now stands silent, its water drained or stagnant, the concrete cracked, and the exhibits crumbling. Despite the quiet, visitors frequently report strange phenomena: ghostly animal figures moving through empty pools, phantom zookeepers tending to enclosures that have long been deserted, and eerie sounds that seem to echo from the very structures themselves. The derelict dolphin pools are often the epicenter of paranormal activity in the coral section. Witnesses describe seeing translucent shapes gliding gracefully through the shallow water, moving with the characteristic flips and turns of dolphins, yet vanishing when approached. Some have reported hearing the soft clicks, whistles, and playful squeaks that once defined the animal's communication. Even though no living creatures are present, shadows sometimes appear along the edges of the pools, resembling trainers guiding their charges or cleaning the enclosures, only to disappear upon closer inspection. Investigators have captured EVP recordings of faint whistling noises and murmurs that resemble instructions, adding to the growing legend that the park's past lives continued to manifest in spectral form. The sea lion exhibits also carry their own unsettling energy. Visitors frequently hear splashes and barks, even when the water is still and empty. Cold spots are common, forming sudden pockets of chilling air that seem to move with the apparition, heightening the sensation of being watched. Many explorers describe an uncanny feeling of presence, as if the animals and their caretakers linger in a parallel layer of reality, replaying routines from decades past. Walkways and corridors connecting the old coral exhibits are equally charged with strange activity. Footsteps, often echoing independently of the visitor's own movements, can be heard along cracked concrete paths. Whispered voices, sometimes resembling the soft instructions of zookeepers, occasionally drift through empty halls. Shadows flit along walls and fences, appearing humanoid or animal-like, depending on the observer's perspective. Even structural creaks and groans take on a disquieting quality, sometimes interpreted as the movement of unseen creatures. The interplay of visual, auditory, and tactile sensations creates a deeply immersive atmosphere, leaving visitors both fascinated and unsettled. The old feeding stations and maintenance rooms further contribute to the coral section's haunted reputation. Rusting equipment, empty tanks, and decayed platforms appear to harbor lingering energy from years of daily labor. Witnesses report hearing the clatter of tools, the scraping of buckets across floors, and the soft hum of pumps long deactivated. Some claim to feel sudden touches on their arms or shoulders, as if invisible hands are guiding or warning them. Shadowy figures resembling former staff members occasionally appear, moving among the equipment as though continuing their tasks. Paranormal investigators have noted that these residual imprints often correlate with repetitive, emotionally charged human activity, suggesting that the park's history of caretaking has left echoes that persist to this day. Even the outer walkways and abandoned coral displays create an eerie experience. Overgrown plants, cracked paths, and rusted fencing cast moving shadows that seem alive in the fading light. Visitors describe hearing distant splashes or the subtle sounds of animals shifting in the pools. Yet, upon inspection, the area is completely empty. Some report sudden drops in temperature and the sensation of invisible presences following them from exhibit to exhibit. These unexplained phenomena give the impression that the park itself is alive, preserving memories of its operational years in both the physical structures and the surrounding environment. The ghostly phenomena are not limited to visual or auditory experiences. Many explorers report tactile sensations, such as brushes against clothing or the feeling of being lightly tapped by unseen hands. In the dolphin and sea lion areas, cold drafts seem to follow the shapes of spectral figures, intensifying the sense that visitors are walking alongside beings that are both present and intangible. Investigators suggest that these experiences are consistent with residual hauntings, where repeated activity and strong emotional energy from the past continue to interact with the present, creating perceptible effects. The abandoned coral section also carries a somber emotional weight. Visitors often describe feelings of melancholy or unease that intensify in quieter areas, particularly near pools where accidents or animal deaths occurred over the years. This emotional residue seems to add depth to the visual and auditory phenomena, creating a multi-layered haunting that reflects both the daily life of caretakers and the loss experienced within the enclosures. Shadows of trainers, the playful movements of ghostly animals, and lingering scents reminiscent of saltwater and marine life all contribute to an immersive, unsettling environment. Exploring the old coral section of Marine World Africa, USA, is an experience that blurs the line between history and the supernatural. The combination of spectral animals, phantom zookeepers, cold spots, and disembodied sounds creates a haunting tapestry that captivates and unnerves in equal measure. Though the park's operational days are long gone, its energy endures, allowing glimpses into the lives of those who cared for the animals and the animals themselves. Every splash, whistle, and shadow is a reminder that the past, particularly one charged with emotion and routine, rarely fades completely. For those willing to enter the abandoned coral section, the experience is unforgettable. Shadowy figures moving through empty pools, ghostly calls of dolphins and sea lions, and the sensation of being observed by invisible presences all combine to create an atmosphere where the park's history is alive in spectral form. Even decades after closure, Marine World Africa, USA's coral section continues to tell its story not in words or photographs, but in fleeting glimpses, echoes, and chills that persist for anyone daring enough to witness them. Bay Area Funland, once a bustling amusement park in the 1950s, now lies abandoned, its bright colors faded, rides rusted, and pathways overgrown with weeds. What was once a place of laughter, joy, and family gatherings has become a realm of shadow and mystery. Locals often speak in hushed tones about the park, recounting strange experiences and paranormal occurrences that continue to unsettle those who dare to venture into its crumbling grounds. Even decades after its closure, Bay Area Funland seems unwilling to relinquish the echoes of its lively past. Phantom carnival music drifts through the empty avenues. Shadowy figures wander among broken rides, and a pervasive sense of being watched leaves visitors on edge from the moment they step inside. The main entrance, once adorned with colorful banners and flashing lights, now stands as a skeletal archway, half covered in ivy. Many visitors report that, as they approach, the faint strains of organ music and cheerful laughter can be heard, as if the park is welcoming them back to an era long gone. The sound is disorienting, sometimes fading as quickly as it appears, only to return in different areas. Those who follow the music often find themselves standing in front of rides that are no longer operational. The Ferris wheel, once the park's centerpiece, towers over the grounds, its rusted frame creaking in the wind. Shadowy forms are frequently seen climbing into the carriages, disappearing when observers attempt to get closer. The carousel, another iconic ride, is equally haunted. Its painted horses, faded and chipped, seem almost lifelike when sunlight strikes them at certain angles. Visitors describe the soft creaking of wooden floors and the melodic jingle of the ride's mechanisms. Despite the fact that it is completely immobile, shadowy figures, sometimes resembling children in mid-20th century clothing, are often reported riding the carousel or peering over its edge. The sensation is disconcerting. Observers feel as though they are intruding upon a moment frozen in time, witnessing joy that no longer belongs to the present. Paranormal investigators who have explored the carousel have captured EVPs of laughter and faint voices calling out names. further cementing the site's reputation as a hotspot for spectral activity. Beyond the rides, the pathways and grounds of Bay Area Funland are alive with inexplicable phenomena. Broken benches, toppled trash cans, and overgrown flower beds provide the backdrop for whispers, footsteps, and fleeting shadows. Many visitors report feeling unseen presences brushing past them, or the sensation that someone or something is following their movements. Even on windless days, cold drafts sweep along the walkways, often coinciding with the appearance of a shadowy figure or the sudden sound of a distant scream. The overgrown areas, once meant for picnics and leisure, now feel claustrophobic, as if the lingering energy of past visitors is closing in on those who explore the park. The bumper car arena, once a hub of excitement and playful chaos, has become a focal point for paranormal activity. The metal tracks, now rusted and broken, are said to resonate with the phantom sounds of cars colliding, the metallic clang echoing across the empty structure. Visitors have reported seeing shadowy figures sliding across the floor as though piloting invisible vehicles. Some claim to feel brushes against their arms or shoulders as they pass through the arena, as if ghostly operators are still engaged in their long-finished games. The combination of sound, movement, and sensation creates a disorienting experience, one that blurs the line between memory, imagination, and the supernatural. The old concession stands and maintenance buildings of Bay Area Funland also harbor their own spectral stories. Rusted popcorn machines, shattered glass cases, and rotting wooden counters often appear to move or shift slightly when unobserved. Footsteps echo through empty hallways, and faint whispers of conversations can be heard drifting from corners where no living person exists. Some visitors report glimpsing figures of past employees, adjusting equipment or tidying displays as if preparing for a day that will never come. Paranormal investigators suggest that these manifestations are residual hauntings, echoes of repeated human activity and strong emotions imprinted upon the environment, replaying themselves for those who enter the decayed park. Even the outer areas of the park, including overgrown parking lots and forgotten gardens, contribute to the haunting ambience. Phantom music seems to drift across these spaces, faint but persistent, and fleeting shadows dart along the edges of broken fences. Visitors often feel the presence of unseen eyes, and some report hearing the soft, rhythmic patter of footsteps behind them, even when alone. The pervasive sense of being observed adds to the overall unease, creating a layered experience where auditory, visual, and tactile phenomena converge. Exploring Bay Area Funland today is like stepping into a liminal space between past and present. The abandoned rides, decaying buildings, and overgrown pathways act as vessels for the energy of the park's operational days, preserving memories of laughter, excitement, and tragedy. Shadowy figures, phantom sounds, and sudden chills create an immersive experience, reminding visitors that the past is never truly gone, particularly when it was filled with strong emotions and repeated activity. For those daring enough to wander through its haunted grounds, Bay Area Funland offers an unforgettable, if unsettling, experience. From the creaking Ferris wheel to the phantom laughter echoing through the carousel, every corner of the park seems alive with the echoes of its past. The shadows of children, ghostly carnival music, and the persistent sensation of unseen observers all serve as reminders that even abandoned, overgrown, and decaying amusement parks can retain the energy of decades gone by, leaving an indelible mark upon those who dare to witness them. Knott's Berry Farm, one of Southern California's most iconic amusement parks, is known for its lively rides, themed areas, and family-friendly entertainment. Yet, beyond the bustling crowds and cheerful atmosphere lies a series of abandoned storage and maintenance areas that few visitors ever see. These forgotten corners of the park, tucked away behind locked gates and shuttered doors, hold a very different reputation. Over the years, reports from security personnel, maintenance staff, and paranormal investigators have described ghostly phenomena that continue to haunt the old sections, suggesting that the park's history lingers in ways that are both unsettling and inexplicable. The maintenance sheds, long since emptied of their original equipment, are a focal point for activity. Rusted tools and abandoned carts sometimes appear to shift or move when no one is present. Witnesses describe hearing the faint clatter of machinery, the scraping of metal across concrete, and the hum of motors that should have been long deactivated. Security cameras occasionally capture fleeting shadows darting across hallways, and some officers report seeing full-bodied apparitions moving through the rooms as if performing the tasks of staff members from decades past. These figures, often described in uniform or old-style work clothes, vanish the moment someone approaches, leaving behind only a chilling sensation and the lingering hum of machinery that seems to have no source. The storage areas, filled with boxes of props, ride components, and decorations, have been particularly active. Investigators report hearing disembodied voices echoing through the aisles, often calling out names or repeating phrases in a faint, distorted tone. The air in these spaces is often reported as cold and heavy, with sudden drops in temperature coinciding with the appearance of shadowy figures. Some visitors claim to feel the sensation of being touched or lightly brushed as they navigate the narrow corridors. And in certain instances, items appear to move or fall from shelves with no apparent explanation. Paranormal experts suggest that these disturbances could be residual energy imprints, echoes of decades of repetitive work, and emotionally charged moments that continue to interact with the present. The back hallways and utility tunnels connecting the storage and maintenance areas are also hotspots for strange experiences. Footsteps, echoing independently of those present, can often be heard, along with the faint metallic scrape of carts or the occasional slam of a door that is securely closed. Shadowy figures are sometimes glimpsed at the ends of corridors or around corners, vanishing when observers attempt to get a closer look. The atmosphere in these passages is described as oppressive, with an unsettling sense of being watched, followed, or guided by unseen presences. Investigators frequently note that these areas are where the boundary between memory, history, and the paranormal seems to blur most strongly. Former employee break rooms and offices, long abandoned and left to decay, contribute to the eerie ambience. Faded papers, broken chairs, and cracked windows provide a haunting backdrop for inexplicable activity. Lights flicker sporadically, even when circuits have been deactivated, and some security personnel have reported hearing faint typing or phone rings emanating from empty offices. Apparitions resembling staff members from the park's early years have been described walking the halls, organizing supplies, or peering out of windows. AVP sessions conducted in these rooms have captured voices murmuring instructions, echoes of conversations, and occasional laughter that seems entirely out of place in the deserted spaces. Even the exterior sections surrounding these abandoned areas carry a ghostly presence. Overgrown landscaping, cracked pavements, and rusted fences create shifting shadows that seem alive when illuminated by flashlights at night. Visitors report hearing footsteps behind them on empty walkways or the sound of tools being carried through spaces where no living person is present. Some even claim to catch glimpses of figures in the distance, moving deliberately between buildings before vanishing entirely. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile phenomena creates a deeply immersive experience, leaving those who explore these areas both fascinated and unnerved. Many reports also center on the old ride storage and dismantled attractions. Decommissioned ride vehicles, broken track pieces, and faded props sometimes appear to move on their own. Some visitors have reported hearing faint music or ride sounds in areas where all electronics have been removed, and shadowy figures resembling former ride operators or performers are occasionally seen gliding through the structures. Cold spots often accompany these sightings, adding to the impression that past energy, human and mechanical alike, remains embedded in the environment. Paranormal investigators theorize that these imprints are residual manifestations, reflecting years of emotional intensity, repetitive labor, and the lively energy that once characterized the park. Exploring the abandoned sections of Knott's Berry Farm offers a stark contrast to the bustling, cheerful main park. The remnants of the past empty maintenance sheds, storage rooms, utility corridors, and dismantled ride areas serve as vessels for a haunting energy that is both historical and spectral. Visitors report an overwhelming sense that the park is alive in another form, replaying moments from its operational days through sounds, shadows, and sudden chills. The ghostly figures of employees, the disembodied voices, and the movement of objects all contribute to a chilling atmosphere where the past seems tangible and present simultaneously. For those brave enough to venture into these hidden corners, the abandoned sections of Knott's Berry Farm provide an unforgettable and unsettling experience. Shadowy figures gliding through storage rooms, phantom footsteps echoing through empty hallways, and the sensation of unseen presences following visitors all reinforce the idea that even in a modern amusement park, the echoes of history and the spirits tied to it can never truly be erased. The park's abandoned areas serve as a haunting reminder that beneath the laughter and lights of the main park lies a world where the past continues to linger, observing, moving, and replaying its stories for anyone willing to witness them. Magic Kingdom, California, though short-lived, left a lasting impression, not just for its ambitious rides and attractions, but for the eerie stories that have persisted long after its closure. Nestled in a quiet area, the park operated for only a few years before financial difficulties and management challenges forced its abandonment. Today, its faded structures and rusting attractions serve as silent witnesses to a time when families flocked to its gates in search of entertainment and wonder. However, what remains is far from silent. Visitors, urban explorers, and paranormal investigators have reported an array of chilling phenomena. Mysterious laughter echoing through empty walkways, flickering lights in buildings that have no power, and shadows that seem to move along the old roller coaster tracks, disappearing as soon as they are approached. The main entrance, once adorned with bright banners and welcoming gates, now stands weathered and overgrown. Local explorers claim that approaching the gates often triggers a sensation of being watched. Some have reported hearing faint, cheerful laughter, too distant and disembodied to belong to anyone nearby it, clear enough to send shivers down the spine. The sounds are intermittent, often appearing when the air is still and the surrounding environment is silent, creating the uncanny impression that the park itself remembers its past visitors and performances. The abandoned roller coasters of Magic Kingdom, California, are perhaps the most notorious sources of paranormal activity. Rusted tracks twist and creak in the wind, casting long, distorted shadows across the ground. Observers have reported seeing figures moving along the tracks, appearing to ride the coasters at night, even though they are no longer functional. These figures, described as shadowy and semi-transparent, vanish when approached, leaving only the eerie sound of metal groaning under unseen weight. Some urban explorers claim to hear the faint mechanical whirring of the coaster's machinery. Despite the fact that it has been disconnected for decades, the combination of sound, movement, and visual phenomena produces a disorienting experience, making it difficult to distinguish between reality and spectral replay. The old funhouse and arcade buildings also contribute heavily to the park's haunted reputation. Inside, visitors report flickering lights that switch on and off without explanation, along with cold spots and sudden drops in temperature. Faint echoes of music, laughter, and indistinct voices have been captured during paranormal investigations, often intensifying when individuals attempt to explore deeper into the structures. Some have even described objects moving slightly on shelves or countertops, as though invisible hands are interacting with the environment. In these spaces, the lingering energy of past amusement, joy, and excitement seems to interact with present observers, creating an unsettling mix of nostalgia and fear. Pathways and plazas within the park provide their own forms of haunting, overgrown with weeds and cracked from years of neglect. These areas often evoke a sense of emptiness amplified by unseen presences. Many who have ventured into the park alone, at dusk or during the night, report sudden chills, shadows flitting at the periphery of vision, and the sensation that someone or something is following them. Footsteps echo across the pavements, though no one else is visible. and faint echoes of laughter seem to drift across the abandoned spaces. The atmosphere is thick with the impression that the park's vibrant past still exists in some spectral form, replaying scenes of enjoyment and activity for those who dare to witness them. The dining areas and concession stands, long since stripped of equipment and decor, are hotspots for auditory phenomena. Investigators often capture disembodied voices on recording devices, murmuring orders, counting change, or calling out names. Occasionally, faint smells of popcorn and cotton candy are reported, as if memories of the park's busiest days have been imprinted on the very air itself. Some explorers have even felt gentle brushes against their arms or shoulders, sensations consistent with the presence of unseen individuals moving about the spaces. These sensory experiences combine to reinforce the impression that Magic Kingdom, California, though abandoned physically, continues to replay fragments of its operational life for any living visitors. The park's water attractions, though drained and dismantled, have also been linked to strange occurrences. Empty pools and dry flumes are often sites of sudden, inexplicable noises, splashes, sloshing water, and the faint sound of laughter from unseen children. Shadowy figures are sometimes seen, skimming the edges of these structures, vanishing when approached. Investigators theorize that these are residual manifestations, echoes of repetitive activity, joy, and excitement captured in the environment during the park's brief period of operation. Even the exterior grounds, including parking lots and landscaping, are not free from paranormal reports. Visitors frequently see shadows darting among overgrown shrubs or along the cracked pathways, and some have heard the distant hum of music, faintly resembling the cheerful melodies once piped through the park. Sudden cold drafts and the sensation of unseen observers are common, especially in areas adjacent to the old rides and buildings. These experiences collectively create a pervasive atmosphere of unease, blending visual, auditory, and tactile phenomena into a coherent sense of haunting. Exploring Magic Kingdom, California today is a journey into a liminal space between past and present. The abandoned structures, broken rides, and overgrown grounds act as vessels for the residual energy of joy, excitement, and human activity. Shadowy figures, unexplained laughter, flickering lights, and sudden chills all contribute to an experience where the line between memory and the supernatural becomes indistinct. The ghostly remnants of visitors, staff, and performers replay moments from a time long past, offering glimpses into the park's vibrant but short-lived history. For those daring enough to enter the abandoned sections of Magic Kingdom, California, the experience is both haunting and mesmerizing. From shadows gliding along the old roller coaster tracks to disembodied laughter echoing across empty plazas, every corner of the park seems to hold a fragment of the past that refuses to fade. The spectral energy woven into its buildings and rides serves as a chilling reminder that even in a defunct amusement park, the echoes of joy, excitement, and human presence can linger for decades, creating an immersive world where history and haunting intertwine. Valley Fair, once a bustling center of entertainment and commerce, now holds a far more sinister reputation in its abandoned sections. While the main attractions of the park and shopping areas thrive, the old warehouses, maintenance buildings, and deserted parking structures tell a very different story. These forgotten corners, left to decay over decades, have become hotspots for unexplained phenomena, attracting paranormal investigators, urban explorers, and curious thrill-seekers, drawn to the eerie aura that lingers in these spaces. The abandoned warehouses, with their towering ceilings and long, shadowed aisles, are among the most active locations. Visitors report hearing phantom footsteps echoing across the empty floors, as if someone or something is pacing endlessly through the deserted spaces. These sounds often occur when the area is completely vacant, with no visible source, creating an immediate sense of unease. Occasionally, fleeting shadows are seen at the periphery of vision, disappearing when approached, leaving only the oppressive silence behind. The heavy air in these warehouses adds to the atmosphere, as sudden drops in temperature are commonly reported, often coinciding with the appearance of these spectral figures. Storage rooms and former inventory areas contribute further to the haunting presence. Rusted shelving, empty pallets, and abandoned equipment create a labyrinth of potential hiding spots for whatever entities roam these halls. Many visitors claim to feel an invisible presence brushing past them or even lightly tugging at clothing. Others have reported hearing whispers and indistinct voices that seem to float just out of earshot, murmuring names or repeating fragmented phrases. Paranormal investigators suggest that these experiences could be residual energy, remnants of decades of human activity, stress, and conflict echoing through the physical space long after the buildings were vacated. The old parking structures surrounding Valley Fair are also noted for strange activity. Concrete ramps, cracked surfaces, and dimly lit corners amplify the sense of isolation, making any sound or movement feel magnified. Witnesses often describe hearing the rhythmic tap of phantom footsteps following them as they explore, sometimes matching their pace exactly. Shadowy figures are sometimes glimpsed, moving along the edges of ramps or peering from the stairwells, vanishing when anyone approaches. Some visitors even report hearing the faint roar of engines or the squeal of brakes in areas where no vehicles are present, suggesting that echoes of the past have become trapped in the very architecture of the space. Certain hallways and back corridors connecting the warehouses and parking structures are particularly active. Investigators frequently record unexplained noises, including doors opening and closing, footsteps on metal grates, and the occasional metallic clatter of fallen objects. Cold spots in these corridors can be sudden and intense, accompanied by a sense of being watched or followed. Many who have ventured alone report an overwhelming feeling of unease, as if unseen eyes are tracking their every move. These spaces, narrow and shadowed, seem to amplify both the auditory and visual phenomena, making them prime locations for ghostly encounters. Former office areas within the abandoned sections also hold their share of paranormal stories. Empty desks, broken chairs, and cracked windows provide an unsettling backdrop for strange occurrences. Lights flicker sporadically, even when circuits have been deactivated, and some staff or explorers have reported hearing faint typing or telephone rings in offices that have been deserted for decades. Apparitions resembling former employees have been described moving quietly through these rooms, sometimes organizing papers, peering out windows, or walking down hallways. AVP sessions often capture murmurs, commands, or fragmented conversations, suggesting that echoes of the park's operational days remain embedded in the environment. Even the exterior spaces surrounding the abandoned warehouses and parking structures contribute to the haunting atmosphere. Overgrown weeds, rusting fences, and cracked walkways create shifting shadows that seem alive when illuminated by flashlights at night. Some explorers report seeing figures darting through the shadows or across the cracked concrete, vanishing before they can get a closer look. Sudden cold drafts are common, and many describe the feeling of being accompanied or observed by unseen presences, intensifying the sense of fear and anticipation. Several accounts also mention the sound of moving objects without a visible source. Doors creak open, boxes slide across the floors, and old carts rattle in empty halls. Some visitors even report hearing faint laughter or murmuring echoing across the vast spaces of the warehouses and parking structures. These phenomena are often accompanied by cold spots, shadowy figures, and a sense that the spaces are replaying moments from the past, blending memories and energy into a persistent spectral presence. Exploring the abandoned sections of Valley Fair is a deeply immersive and unsettling experience. Shadowy figures, phantom footsteps, flickering lights, and disembodied voices create an atmosphere where the line between past and present seems blurred. Visitors often report a combination of visual, auditory, and tactile phenomena, leaving a lingering sense of tension long after they leave the grounds. The abandoned warehouses and parking structures, left to decay over decades, act as vessels for the residual energy of human activity, capturing echoes of past work, movement, and emotion. For those brave enough to explore these forgotten areas, Valley Fair Abandoned warehouses and old parking structures offer a haunting glimpse into a different side of what was once a thriving hub of activity. The lingering presence of shadowy figures, phantom footsteps, and unexplained sounds serves as a chilling reminder that even in spaces long abandoned, the energy of the past remains, replaying fragments of history for anyone willing to witness them. Sunnyland Amusement Park, once a lively destination filled with laughter and excitement, now lies in a state of eerie decay. Closed for decades, the park's remnants are overgrown with weeds, and its rides stand frozen in time, weathered by sun, wind, and neglect. Despite its abandonment, Sunnyland retains an unsettling energy, drawing paranormal enthusiasts and urban explorers hoping to witness the strange occurrences reported over the years. Tales of ghostly children, phantom music, and unexplained movements have made it one of the most infamous haunted amusement parks in the region. The old carousel is perhaps the most iconic and active site within Sunnyland. Once a bright centerpiece of the park, its chipped paint and rusting horses now spin silently in the wind door, so it seems. Visitors often report seeing ghostly figures of children riding the horses, their laughter echoing faintly through the empty plaza. Some claim to see these figures sitting atop the horses, gazing straight ahead with hollow expressions, only to vanish when approached. Paranormal investigators have recorded EVP sessions in the carousel area, capturing faint giggles, whispered names, and the sound of hooves moving along the floor, even when no mechanism or person is present to create such noises. Adjacent to the carousel, the game stalls are equally active. Once vibrant booths full of prizes and colorful displays, these structures are now boarded up and weathered. Explorers frequently report seeing shadowy forms moving behind the stalls, as if the games were still in operation. Strange sounds, such as coins clinking, the roll of balls hitting targets, or the faint jingle of prizes being won, have been documented. Some visitors describe feeling sudden cold spots near these areas, accompanied by the sensation that they are being watched. It is as though the energy of past visitors, children, and staff alike has imprinted itself onto the very structure of the stalls, replaying snippets of activity for those who enter. The main pathways of Sunnyland also hold their share of ghostly phenomena. Overgrown with grass and cracked from years of neglect, these paths seem to amplify the feeling of isolation. Many who walk through the park report hearing footsteps echoing behind them, only to find no one there. Others notice fleeting shadows darting across the periphery of vision, disappearing when turned toward. These experiences often coincide with the soft, disembodied strains of carnival music drifting through the air, music that seems to have no source. The eerie combination of visual and auditory phenomena makes traversing the park a disorienting and chilling experience. The abandoned Ferris wheel, though rusted and immobile, is another hotspot for paranormal activity. Witnesses have reported seeing the wheel slowly turning at night, with shadowy figures seated in the cars. The faint creak of metal moving under unseen weight accompanies these sightings, creating a haunting juxtaposition of motion in a structure that should be completely still. Some explorers claim to feel a sudden breeze or brush of air while standing beneath the wheel, as if unseen riders were passing overhead. It is widely believed that the energy of past visitors has become trapped in this iconic ride, replaying fragments of joy, fear, and anticipation for anyone who dares to enter the area. The food court and concession areas, now dilapidated and stripped of equipment, are said to be haunted as well. Paranormal reports include the smell of popcorn and cotton candy lingering in the air, even though the buildings have been empty for decades. Disembodied voices, sometimes calling out for staff or announcing orders, have been recorded by investigators. Visitors occasionally feel gentle touches on their arms or shoulders, as if ghostly hands are interacting with the space. These sensory experiences suggest that Sunnyland's energy is not limited to visual and auditory phenomena, but extends to tactile sensations, creating a more immersive and unsettling encounter. The park's exterior grounds, including the parking lot and landscaped areas, contribute to the haunting atmosphere. Overgrown vegetation and broken fencing create shadows that seem to move independently, and explorers often report seeing figures darting across the open spaces. Nighttime visits are particularly unsettling, with the faint strains of carnival music, echoes of laughter, and the feeling of unseen eyes watching every move. Even the wind through the trees sometimes carries a whisper, amplifying the sense that the park's past continues to linger, unwilling to fade completely. Some paranormal investigators theorize that Sunnyland is a classic example of residual haunting energy left behind by strong emotional experiences. These imprints appear to replay themselves, creating ghostly echoes of the park's operational days. Shadowy figures, flickering lights, sudden cold spots, and disembodied music combine to make Sunnyland an immersive haunted environment, one where history and spectral presence intertwine. Exploring Sunnyland Amusement Park today is a journey into a world where time seems frozen, and the energy of the past continues to manifest. From the carousel filled with ghostly riders to the shadowy game stalls and silent Ferris wheel, every corner of the park exudes an unsettling presence. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile phenomena creates an experience that is both haunting and mesmerizing. For those daring enough to venture into its abandoned sections, Sunnyland serves as a chilling reminder that even when a park closes and buildings fall into decay, the memories, joy, and sorrow of its past visitors may continue to linger, replaying fragments of life for anyone willing to witness them. Pioneer Park Amusement Area, once a lively destination filled with laughter, music, and the clatter of rides, now stands in haunting silence. Its abandoned roller coasters, broken carnival rides, and decaying attractions are overgrown with weeds and rusting under years of neglect. Despite the park's closure decades ago, it has developed a reputation as one of the eeriest abandoned amusement sites in the region. Paranormal enthusiasts, urban explorers, and thrill seekers drawn to the supernatural have documented a wide range of strange phenomena, from ghostly apparitions to disembodied sounds, making Pioneer Park a chilling testament to the lingering energy of the past. The old roller coaster is one of the most active and unsettling areas of the park. Its skeletal framework, once a centerpiece of thrills, now stands like a rusted monument against the sky. Visitors report hearing the faint clatter of tracks and the creak of cars moving along the rails. Even though the ride has been immobile for decades, shadowy figures are sometimes seen climbing the structure or appearing inside the coaster cars, their forms fleeting and indistinct, vanishing when approached. Paranormal investigators using night vision cameras and EVP equipment have recorded unexplained voices, whispers of names, and the sounds of laughter echoing across the ride, suggesting that the energy of past riders continues to replay within the structure. Near the roller coaster, other rides and attractions provide further unsettling experiences. The Ferris wheel, rusted and still, has been reported to rotate slowly at night, despite being disconnected from any power source. Witnesses often feel sudden gusts of cold air, or the sensation of being brushed by unseen hands while standing beneath it. Ghostly silhouettes have been captured moving across the ride, giving the impression of long-gone visitors returning to relive moments of joy or excitement. Some explorers report seeing the faint glow of lights flickering along the framework. Even though the electrical systems have been removed or destroyed, the carnival midway, once bustling with games and food stalls, has become a hotspot for spectral activity. Boarded-up booths, shattered glass, and peeling paint create an eerie landscape where shadowy figures are often glimpsed darting across the area. Visitors have described hearing the clink of coins, the toss of balls hitting targets, and faint laughter, all echoing in the empty space. Cold spots are common, particularly near the prize counters and abandoned snack stands, sometimes accompanied by the unmistakable feeling of being watched or followed. Paranormal investigators suggest that these experiences may be residual hauntings, a replay of past excitement and activity imprinted on the environment over decades. One of the most unnerving areas of Pioneer Park is the old funhouse. Its warped mirrors, cracked floors, and dark corridors amplify the sense of unease. Visitors report seeing figures reflected in the glass that vanish when turned toward and hearing whispers, that seem to come from inside the walls. The echoing laughter of children, combined with unexplained footsteps and sudden cold drafts, makes the funhouse one of the park's most terrifying locations. Even the simplest exploration here can leave visitors feeling disoriented and followed, as though unseen eyes are tracking their every movement. The park's food court and maintenance areas, now stripped of equipment, are said to harbor spirits as well. Disembodied voices calling out names or shouting instructions have been captured in EVP sessions. While some visitors report feeling gentle touches on their arms or shoulders, the lingering smell of popcorn, cotton candy, and fried food has also been reported, despite the fact that the buildings have been empty for decades. These sensory phenomena suggest that Pioneer Park's ghosts are not limited to sight and sound, but may also involve tactile and olfactory experiences, further immersing explorers in a world where the past refuses to remain silent. Even the exterior spaces surrounding Pioneer Park contribute to the haunted atmosphere. Overgrown walkways, rusting fences, and shadowed corners create the perfect conditions for eerie sightings. Shadowy figures are sometimes seen moving between structures, and sudden gusts of wind often accompany unexplained noises. Nighttime visitors have reported hearing distant carnival music, the clatter of rides, and ghostly voices calling through the abandoned park. The combination of visual, auditory, and environmental phenomena produces an immersive and unsettling experience, reinforcing the feeling that the park's spirits are still very much present. Some paranormal experts believe that Pioneer Park represents a classic example of residual haunting, where energy from strong emotional events becomes embedded in a location. The laughter, joy, and excitement of families and children, combined with moments of fear and accidents, may have left lasting impressions that manifest as the ghostly phenomena observed today. Shadowy figures, phantom footsteps, flickering lights, and cold spots are all interpreted as echoes of these past experiences, replaying for anyone who dares to enter. Exploring Pioneer Park Amusement area today is an unsettling journey into a place where time seems frozen and the energy of the past refuses to fade. From the skeletal roller coaster and rusted Ferris wheel to the abandoned Midway and Funhouse, every corner of the park exudes an eerie presence. Visitors report being followed, hearing disembodied sounds, and feeling unseen touches, making the experience both chilling and captivating. For those willing to wander through its forgotten sections, Pioneer Park serves as a haunting reminder that even long-abandoned places can remain alive with the echoes of their former visitors, replaying fragments of the past for anyone who dares to witness them. Seaside Boardwalk in Ventura, once a bustling stretch of amusement and seaside entertainment, now lies in a state of haunting decay. Its old sections, long abandoned, have become overgrown and weathered, with broken railings, peeling paint, and the skeletal remains of arcades, shops, and rides, standing as silent reminders of a lively past. Though the boardwalk no longer draws the crowds it once did, it has gained notoriety for reports of paranormal activity, attracting ghost hunters, urban explorers, and thrill seekers eager to witness the strange and unexplained. Shadowy figures, disembodied voices, and sudden chills have been reported throughout the deserted area, giving the place an unsettling atmosphere that few can forget once experienced. The derelict arcades are at the heart of Seaside Boardwalk's haunting reputation. Once filled with flashing lights, ringing machines, and the laughter of children, these spaces are now empty, dark, and decaying. Visitors often report seeing fleeting figures moving among the crumbling arcade machines, sometimes glancing out of windows or peering from behind broken counters. Some claim to see children playing, their laughter echoing faintly across the empty halls, only to vanish when approached. Paranormal investigators conducting EVP sessions in the arcades have captured faint cries, whispers calling names, and even the mechanical sounds of games being played, despite the fact that no electricity or functioning equipment remains. The combination of visual and auditory phenomena suggests that the energy of past visitors has left an indelible mark on the location. Along the main boardwalk, skeletal remains of rides and concession stands contribute to the eerie atmosphere. Rusted railings, weather-worn benches, and toppled signs create shadows that seem to move independently in the corner of one's vision. Many who traverse the boardwalk at night report feeling watched, hearing footsteps that follow them, or experiencing sudden drops in temperature. Some have even described feeling a gentle brush on their arms or shoulders, as if an unseen presence is passing close by. These occurrences are particularly pronounced near the old carousel, which once served as a centerpiece of entertainment, though the ride has long ceased to function. Witnesses have described seeing ghostly riders, shadowy forms seated on the horses, and hearing the soft clip-clop of hooves echoing through the night. The remnants of the Ferris wheel are another hot spot of activity, towering above the boardwalk. Its rusted frame and motionless cars give the illusion of silence. Yet some visitors have claimed to see the wheel slowly turning in the moonlight. Shadows are often glimpsed seated in the cars, as if enjoying a ride from another era, disappearing when observed directly. Paranormal enthusiasts report sudden gusts of icy wind beneath the structure, the creaking of metal in moments when no one else is near, and the sensation that the wheel itself is aware of their presence. These inexplicable phenomena make the Ferris wheel one of the most chilling locations along Seaside Boardwalk. The boardwalk's abandoned food stands, storage sheds, and ticket booths have also attracted reports of hauntings. Ghostly whispers and disembodied voices calling out orders or asking questions have been recorded, while some visitors describe feeling unseen hands on their arms or shoulders. Occasionally, faint smells of saltwater taffy, popcorn, or fried treats linger in the air, even though the buildings have been empty for decades. These sensory experiences suggest that the spirits are not limited to sight and sound, but extend to tactile and olfactory impressions as well, creating an immersive and unnerving environment. Even the open spaces between the attractions are far from empty. Cracked pathways and overgrown landscaping provide the perfect backdrop for shadowy figures moving at the edge of perception. Visitors frequently report hearing distant carnival music, the clatter of rides, and ghostly laughter drifting across the boardwalk at night. The combination of visual, auditory, and physical sensations creates a unique atmosphere, leaving explorers with the impression that the boardwalk is alive with the echoes of its past, replaying fragments of joy, excitement, and sorrow for anyone willing to experience them. Some paranormal experts believe that Seaside Boardwalk represents a classic residual haunting. The emotions of past visitors, the excitement of rides, the laughter of children, and even moments of fear appear to have imprinted themselves on the location. Shadowy figures, disembodied sounds, and cold spots may all be manifestations of these energetic imprints, replaying again and again for those who enter the abandoned sections. The haunting is not necessarily malevolent, but it is undeniably persistent, leaving a strong sense of unease in anyone who explores the area after dark. Exploring the old sections of Seaside Boardwalk today is like stepping back in time into a place frozen between memory and decay. The derelict arcades, skeletal rides, abandoned food stands, and empty pathways are all alive with ghostly phenomena. Visitors report shadows darting across the boardwalk, unexplained laughter and music, and the feeling of unseen presences moving just beyond sight. Even the simplest walk along the wooden planks can evoke a strong sense of unease, as though the spirits of the past are silently observing, replaying moments of their long-gone lives. For those daring enough to venture into Seaside Boardwalk's abandoned areas, the experience is both chilling and mesmerizing. The combination of visual, auditory, tactile, and olfactory phenomena creates an immersive encounter with the echoes of a bygone era. The laughter, joy, and excitement of generations past seem to linger in the shadows, leaving a haunting impression on anyone who enters. Even in its abandoned and decaying state, Seaside Boardwalk continues to hold the memories of its past visitors, replaying fragments of life in ghostly form for all who step onto its weathered planks. Sunset Amusements, once a lively destination for thrill seekers and families in the Los Angeles area, now sits abandoned, its rides and buildings crumbling under decades of neglect. What was once a hub of music, laughter, and neon lights has become a silent and decaying reminder of the past. Yet, despite its abandonment, Sunset Amusements has gained a reputation as a hotspot for paranormal activity, drawing ghost hunters, urban explorers, and thrill seekers who are eager to encounter the unexplained. Visitors consistently report ghostly music drifting through empty buildings, the echoes of laughter along deserted walkways, and shadowy figures moving near the skeletal remains of old rides, giving the park a chilling, almost otherworldly presence that refuses to fade with time. The centerpiece of many ghostly reports is the old carousel. Once adorned with brightly painted horses and twinkling lights, it now stands motionless, its paint peeling and its mechanical workings exposed to the elements. Despite its decay, witnesses describe seeing ghostly riders seated atop the horses, often vanishing when approached. Some claim to hear the faint sound of the carousel music, a haunting melody that seems to replay over and over, even though the ride is no longer operational. Others have reported cold gusts of wind sweeping through the area, accompanied by the unmistakable sensation of unseen hands brushing against their arms, as if the spirits of past visitors are still reliving moments of joy and excitement. Nearby, the remnants of the Ferris wheel and roller coasters add to the park's eerie atmosphere. Rusted frameworks stretch into the sky, their skeletal forms casting long shadows over the cracked pavement below. At night, explorers have described seeing dark silhouettes moving along the structures or seated within the abandoned cars, disappearing when looked at directly. Paranormal investigators have captured EVPs of faint laughter, the sound of metal clanging, and whispers that seem to call out names. The feeling of being watched is almost constant in these areas, with sudden chills and unexplained noises heightening the sense that the park is alive with unseen presences. The old arcade buildings and concession stands provide another layer of the supernatural, once brimming with flashing lights, ringing machines, and the excitement of families. These spaces are now dark, dusty, and silent. Yet visitors frequently report seeing shadowy figures moving between the rows of abandoned arcade machines, hearing the faint clatter of tokens or game sounds, and catching glimpses of children running through empty hallways. Paranormal investigators often note the presence of residual energy, hear psychic impressions left by years of fun, excitement, and occasional accidents which may explain the ongoing hauntings. The smell of popcorn and cotton candy is sometimes detected, despite the long absence of any food. Adding to the unsettling atmosphere, the funhouse, with its warped mirrors and narrow corridors, is particularly unnerving. Visitors report seeing reflections of figures that are not present in the room, hearing whispers from unseen sources, and experiencing disorienting temperature shifts. Shadowy forms are often seen darting through the hallways, vanishing when approached. The laughter of children echoes unexpectedly, and some have reported phantom footsteps behind them, creating the unnerving feeling that they are being followed. Even in daylight, the funhouse maintains an oppressive and eerie energy, amplified by its decayed state and the weight of past memories. Other parts of Sunset Amusements, including old ticket booths, maintenance sheds, and storage areas, are also hotspots for paranormal activity. Witnesses have described hearing ghostly voices, seeing fleeting apparitions of past workers, and feeling touches from unseen hands. Faint flickering lights and mysterious shadows are commonly reported, creating a sense of disorientation and unease. Even the open walkways between the attractions can feel oppressive, with cold spots, sudden noises, and the occasional glimpse of movement in the corner of one's vision, suggesting that the spirits of the park's past inhabitants are far from gone. Experts in paranormal phenomena often describe Sunset Amusements as a location with strong residual haunting. The laughter, excitement, and occasional fear experienced by past visitors and workers appear to have left energetic impressions that replay over time. Shadowy figures, disembodied voices, cold spots, and the sensation of being touched are interpreted as manifestations of these imprinted energies, creating a haunting experience that can be both unsettling and mesmerizing. While the ghosts may not have malicious intent, their presence is undeniable, leaving explorers with a profound sense of unease and fascination. Visitors to Sunset Amusements today are stepping into a space frozen in time, where every corner of the park, from the abandoned rides and arcades to the funhouse and walkways, resonates with lingering energy. Shadows dart across crumbling structures, laughter echoes through the air, and ghostly music drifts from unseen sources. Cold gusts of wind, sudden chills, and the sensation of unseen hands heighten the intensity of the experience, making the park one of the most vividly haunted amusement locations in the region. Exploring Sunset Amusements is a journey into the past, a place where joy and excitement have left enduring impressions that continue to manifest in ghostly form. The carousel, Ferris wheel, funhouse, and abandoned arcades all serve as conduits for the spirits of visitors long gone, offering glimpses of lives replayed in spectral echoes. The haunting is immersive, affecting sight, sound, touch, and even smell, providing a chilling experience for those willing to venture into the park's deserted sections. Sunset Amusements stands as a powerful reminder that the memories of places filled with human emotion can persist long after the lights have gone out. The music has stopped, and the crowds have vanished. Ocean Breeze Amusement Park, once a vibrant coastal attraction, now stands as a silent testament to the passage of time. Its bright lights, colorful banners, and bustling crowds have long vanished, leaving behind rusted rides, crumbling structures, and empty game stalls. Though the laughter and joy of past visitors are gone, the park has gained a reputation as one of California's most haunted defunct amusement locations. Paranormal investigators, urban explorers, and thrill seekers have reported chilling experiences here, including sudden cold spots, ghostly footsteps, and shadowy figures moving among the derelict roller coaster tracks and deserted arcades. The park seems to exist in a state suspended between memory and decay, where echoes of the past manifest in unsettling ways. The roller coasters at Ocean Breeze are among the most notorious hotspots for ghostly activity. Once a source of exhilaration and screams of joy, the rusted tracks now stretch into the sky like skeletal fingers. Visitors have reported feeling a presence while walking along these old paths, with cold gusts of wind that appear without any natural cause. Many describe hearing the creaking and clattering of trains moving along the tracks, though no maintenance vehicles or humans are present. Shadowy figures are often seen perched in the cars or walking along the rails, vanishing when approached. Some believe these apparitions are remnants of past thrill seekers, replaying moments of fear and excitement that left lasting impressions on the park's energy. The carousel, though stripped of paint and dulled by rust, is another focal point for paranormal reports. Shadowy figures are sometimes seen riding the horses, their forms translucent and fleeting. Explorers report feeling cold drafts pass through the carousel, and in some cases, the sensation of a brush against their shoulders, as though unseen riders are sharing the experience with them. The juxtaposition of childhood joy and the current desolation makes these encounters particularly chilling. The arcade buildings and game stalls of Ocean Breeze have a reputation for disembodied sounds, where once machines clattered and coins jingled. Now only emptiness remains, yet visitors report hearing faint noises as if the arcade were still in operation. Paranormal investigators have captured EVPs of children laughing, ticket dispensers clicking, and voices calling out from nowhere. Shadowy figures are sometimes glimpsed moving among the machines, their forms disappearing when directly observed. The smell of popcorn and cotton candy has been reported even in the absence of any food, suggesting that the spirits of past visitors continue to imprint themselves on the location in multiple ways. The abandoned food stands and maintenance sheds are equally unsettling. Visitors report hearing footsteps behind them, cold spots that follow their movements, and objects subtly shifting without explanation. Ghostly apparitions, resembling park employees from decades past, have been observed walking through storage areas or standing silently near the empty walkways. Some explorers describe the sensation of being watched for long stretches, only to turn around and see nothing. The combination of sight, sound, touch, and even scent makes these areas among the most immersive in terms of paranormal experiences. The park's Ferris wheel, now rusting and immobile, has been the site of several particularly unnerving accounts. At night, some report seeing the wheel slowly turning in the moonlight, with shadowy passengers appearing in the cars. Sudden gusts of cold wind, accompanied by the sound of metal groaning, have been documented in these areas, heightening the sense that the ride itself is alive with lingering energy. The Ferris wheel's height and isolation seem to amplify the intensity of the hauntings, as the desolate structure dominates the horizon and casts long shadows over the rest of the park. Ocean Breeze Amusement Park is also known for residual hauntings tied to its long history. Experts suggest that the intense emotions experienced by visitors, joy, fear, and excitement left energetic imprints throughout the park. Shadowy figures, disembodied voices, and sudden cold spots may be manifestations of these residual energies, replaying fragments of experiences from decades past. Unlike malevolent hauntings, these spirits seem to replay moments of human activity, creating an environment that is both eerie and mesmerizing. Walking through the park today is an exercise in tension and nostalgia. Cracked pathways, overgrown landscaping, and decaying structures create an oppressive and haunting aesthetic, while ghostly phenomena remind visitors that the past is never truly gone. The combination of empty rides, derelict game stalls, and abandoned buildings forms an immersive landscape where the echoes of previous visitors persist in shadow, sound, and sensation. Even in the absence of human life, the park seems to breathe with memories, replaying fragments of excitement and fear for anyone willing to experience them. For those brave enough to explore Ocean Breeze Amusement Park, the experience is unforgettable. Shadowy figures, ghostly footsteps, cold gusts of wind, faint carnival music, and even phantom smells create a multi-sensory haunting. From the skeletal roller coasters and rusted carousel to the empty arcades and food stands, every corner of the park seems imbued with the energy of the past. Ocean Breeze stands as a chilling example of how human emotion, memory, and tragedy can leave lasting imprints on a location, making it one of the most haunted defunct amusement parks in California. California's abandoned amusement parks are more than decaying structures and forgotten rides. They are portals into the past, holding memories of joy, tragedy, and unexplained phenomena. From spectral children playing near carousels to ghostly caretakers roaming empty corridors, these parks remind us that the echoes of laughter can sometimes linger long after the crowds have gone. Whether you are a paranormal enthusiast or a history buff, exploring these haunted parks offers a chilling glimpse into the unseen. Remember, the thrill isn't always on the roller coaster. Sometimes it's in the shadows that watch you as you walk away. These 25 haunted amusement parks stand as monuments to both the joy and the fear that can coexist in places time has abandoned, whispering stories that will haunt visitors for generations.